my gosh, yesterday I said we're gonna start Outcast, but we had already started Outcast. We started it last week. Goof. The fish is basically my gambling for this chat. Yeah, it is! Please enjoy the fishes. I put a lot of work into putting so many Pokemon and Animal Crossing fish. Spring break! Oh, that's so fun! Did it just start? Or I guess it must have started on Monday, right? I'm eating a fruit cup. Oh, heck yeah, Juice! That's great news. That's great news. I still get nightmares thinking that I'm gonna fail. Wow, a tadpole! That's so nice. And then the creator of Dragon Ball. Oh yeah, I didn't go to school on a half day. Aww. Yeah, that was really sad. Wow, a skateboard. Oh, I just realized. Wait, no, you can hear the... Yeah, you can hear the nature noises. Okay. Can I please catch a fish? No! Hi, Pappy! How are you? It's finally sunny today. I mean... Yeah, I guess so. It's been really rainy recently, but today the sun. Mountain cats don't roar, though. Oh. What do mountain cats... They scream? Oh. Are you sure? What about... Wait, are you sure? I don't think you're... I feel like that's a lie. What's viewer attack? Oh, it's the... Okay, I was like, why do I have an overlay? I don't know what it is. They scream. I'm gonna listen to a mountain lion scream. Mountain lion scream. Mountain lion scream like a woman? What? Huh? What? That's a literal... That's a... What? Scream. That doesn't sound... That doesn't sound real. Can you imagine if you had a house cat that was... Juice, you still didn't get a fish. Still cute bloopers. I'd kiss their forehead. Yeah, I would too. But imagine hearing one Or what was I even gonna say? I don't even know what I was gonna say. Imagine. Oh yeah, imagine having one as a house cat and it started screaming. And your neighbors are like, what the? The only thing I got was fire. Oh, maybe that should be a game that I play on the subathon. Pokemon Snap. That's a really chill, easy game. Oh my god, Wug Trio! The Wuggers! The boy band. Wuggers. Pokemon Snap. I have some... So far on my list of subathon games to play with you guys is Marbles on Stream. Wow, a bike! Juice, what's happening? We have Marbles on Stream. We have Scribble.io. We have Rain World integration with like multiplayers. We have Transfer Mice. We have Kukoro stream chat games, which I bought today, and I still need to figure it out. I'm a little confused about it, but I think it'll be fun. We have Infinity Craft, and I was thinking like we could play Infinity Craft, like have like a challenge to get a certain word, like pop cups. That's what I'm thinking. We could have a race to see who gets there first. And then Pokemon Snap. I think that's a little chill, fun games to play. All right. So, Juice, you're cleaning out this lake of all the junk that's been in it. I'm actually really impressed by that. So, what happened last time? Last time, previously on Warrior Cats Outcast. Oh, they're all getting signs to go to the mountains. Like, they're all getting, like, a pull to the mountains. J-Paw had a dream J-Paw had a dream and he was trying to talk to Rock, who is the spiritual cat that lives in the caves. Not Fallen Leaves, but, like, the one that would greet the warriors into the cave and then cross them off if they survived or died. And so he went to go ask him, like, why aren't you talking to me anymore? Like, I thought we were good friends. And then he was like, oh, well, what do you want to talk to me about? And then he's like, I don't know, like, I want to know more about you guys. And he's like, well, that sucks. And then they got, like, this little... kind of like a symbol, like feather tail, walked. They were like all the like the Shadow Clan, the Star Clan cats were catching prey, and they caught their prey and they were taking it back to the camp. But Feathertail didn't go in the way that they were supposed to. She went in a different way. And then Leafpool was like, "Hey, where are you going?" And then Feathertail's like, "To the mountains, of course." And then Rock, after Feathertail disappeared into the bushes, Rock got up, stared at J-Paw, and then jumped into the bushes. So he was like, oh, okay, so I probably need to go to the mountain to discover more about what's happening. And for Lion Paw, I don't know why Lion Paw wants to go. Let's see. What do the mountains look like? Oh, Lion Paw spoke with Brooke. Brooke was kind of like telling the apprentices different things about the mountains, and he he's like feeling like he wants to explore more beyond their forest and beyond the warrior code. And he wants to just go to the mountains. For Hollypaw, she's having trouble settling into the clan life, I feel. Or maybe not settling, but living in it. Because she feels like she wants to do only one thing. Like, kind of like master in one thing. And when Brooke was telling stories about when you're born, and then the stone teller tells you if you're going to be a cave guard or a prey hunter. And she's like, oh man, that would be so much easier if they could just tell me what I was destined to do and then I would do it. But alas, it's not like that. So she tried to she was like, okay, well maybe I can just put all my energy into hunting now, and then later I'll put my energy into fighting. And then Cinderpaw, who's been healed, is like, that's not gonna work. And then she's like, oh. And she's just been daydreaming about the mountains ever since then. And that's kind of where we're at. Except right at the end of last chapter, Hollypaw was on a patrol, and she smelt different cats, and I forget who it was. I think Cloudtail and Sandstorm were there, and they're like, quickly go to camp and get more warriors, but don't tell Stormfur or Brooke. And so Hollypaw and Cinderpaw raced back to camp, and they went to go tell Firestar, like, we need some cats out into the forest because there's strange cats there. And then just as they were doing that, Graystripe and who? Graystripe, Birchfall, and Whitewing came into camp, and they were escorting 2 mystery cats. And their scent was the same scent as the intruders that Hollypaw met at the border. So that's where we're at right now. I'll read the last bit of the last chapter. Has Firestar lost any more lives? No. Not since the last book, or the last series. So I think actually, I don't even know if he lost a life when Hawkfrost was, like, strangling him. I feel like he almost did, but then he didn't. Yeah, he's still living a good life. He's still young and spry and full of lives. Okay. Let's see. Brahmacaw said. Hollypaw whirled around as a yowling broke out behind her. More cats were tumbling through the thorn tunnel into camp. Graystripe was in the lead, with Birchfall and Whitewing just behind. But that wasn't what made Hollypaw arch her back, while every hair on her pelt rose and tingled. With the 3 ThunderClan cats were 2 cats that she didn't recognize, a massive dark brown tabby tom and a pure black she-cat, who was smaller and skinnier than the cats of ThunderClan. Graystripe and the 2 younger warriors stood close around them, not allowing them any further into camp. As the she-cat opened her jaws to speak, Graystripe silenced her with a threatening hiss. Hollypaw flexed her claws and let her tail tip flick to and fro. The scent coming from the 2 strange cats was the same one she had picked up near the WindClan border. The scent of the intruders. Da-na-na-na. Chapter 8. J-Paw stiffened at the sound of screeching from the entrance to the camp. He paused with one paw raised, a stem of watermint still snagged in his claw. "What's that?" he meowed. Leafpool didn't reply. Thornclaw had come to see her, complaining about a bellyache, and J-Paw guessed she wouldn't notice a whole herd of badgers trampling through the stone hollow until she had finished treating her patient. J-Paw, where's the watermint? She called. Here. J-Paw grabbed up more of the stem and thrust them at his mentor as he darted past the bramble screen and into the main clearing. He could hear the rustling of leaves as warriors came out of their den and the swift pattering of paws as apprentices bounded up to see what was going on. Whispers of alarm came from every corner of the clearing, and from beneath the high ledge, J-Paw detected powerful fear scent coming from Hollypaw and Honeypaw. Graystripe was speaking, his voice raised in a fierce growl. Not another paw step, until you tell us what you're doing on our territory. J-Paw's fur began to bristle as he picked up the scent of two strange cats. It seemed as if Graystripe and his patrol had caught a couple of rogues trespassing on ThunderClan territory. J-Paw tasted the air carefully. The scent was strong, but with a bitter tinge that seemed familiar, though he couldn't remember where he had smelt it before. Concentrating fiercely, J-Paw tried to pull the newcomer's feeling into himself as he was drawing in their scent. He could sense fear, suspicion, and an overwhelming desperation. It had been difficult for them to come here, yet they'd had no choice. They need something from ThunderClan. Before any cat spoke, there was the sound of more cats approaching through the thorn tunnel. It was Stormfur and Brook, with fresh kill in their jaws. Talon! Knight! Brook exclaimed, dropping the vole. What are you doing here? Cloudtail spoke first, his voice sharp with suspicion. You mean you know these cats? Cloudtail, were you not on the great journey? Firestar, these are the cats we scented near the WindClan border. Hollypaw broke in, before either of the strangers could reply. Brambleclaw sent us to warn you about intruders. They're not intruders. Leafpool spoke calmly as she emerged from her den, her pelt brushing J-Paw's. They come from the tribe of Rushing Water. Firestar bounded down the rocks that led to his den. Of course! It's Talon of Swooping Eagle, isn't it? And Knight of No Stars? That's right, a quiet, accented voice replied. J-Paw sensed the tension in the clearing began to relax. He could make out a few murmurs of recognition coming from the older ThunderClan cats, the ones who had made the great journey and stayed with the tribe of Rushing Water in the mountains. I knew I'd seen that black she-cat somewhere before, Dustpelt muttered. I wonder what they want, Sorreltail asked. She sounded puzzled rather than hostile. Hi, Pumpkin. I suppose we'll soon find out, Breakenfur replied. It must be important for them to come all this way. Stormfur, Brook, Firestar spoke again. Bring your prey over to the fresh kill pile. You must want to catch up with your old friends. It doesn't look much like it, Hollypaw whispered into J-Paw's ears. She had bounded up to him while he was concentrating on the voices. Brook seems really upset, and Stormfur looks as if he's got a bit of crow food under his nose. He just gave Brook a nudge, Linepaw added, patting up in his turn. She doesn't want to go near them. J-Paw could tell from his littermate's paw steps that he was still stiff from his wounds from fighting with Ashfur. Yet he sensed pride coming from Linepaw too, as if he knew he had fought well. Oh yeah, there was Ashfur and Linepaw had a warrior cat, like they were training, and they started to get into a really aggressive fight. Like so aggressive, they were both bleeding at the end, and they were kind of like really spooked and stuff. Or everybody watching was spooked. Ashfur and Lionpaw were like proud, I guess. Or at least Linepaw was. We don't know what Ashfur was thinking. Let's see. They're touching noses now, Hollypaw reported softly. But they still look as if... J-Paw didn't hear the rest of what she said. Suddenly, the ground lurched beneath his paws and he felt blood pounding in his ears. The stench of blood was in his nose. Scarlet light washed over him and he realized that he could see. On every side, he was jostled by fighting cats. He could hear their screeching and the slash of claws through fur. Blood splattered against his felt hot and sticky. Underpaw, the ground was hard stone. J-Paw's claws scrabbled on it as he tried to keep his balance. His paws were splayed across a tilted boulder, sliding slowly downwards. He scrambled across a narrow crevice, barely saving himself from being trapped, then caught a glimpse of a sheer drop beneath him that nothing ahead but the open sky, stained blood red as the sun went down. Dizzy from the height and the fierceness of the battle, J-Paw felt as though his paws were frozen to the rock. Where was he? This was no dream, and yet the clearing by the lake had vanished as if he'd never been. He bit back a yowl of terror as the scene flickered. Darkness returned, but not the unbroken night of his blindness. He was in a cave where the noise of falling water echoed from the rocks. Moonlight shone through a glittering screen of water that covered the entrance. Cats were sitting all around him, talking to one another in quiet, serious voices. J-Paw could pick up their scents and recognize those that belonged to the intruders who had just arrived at camp. They were sitting opposite to him. A huge tabby tom and a smaller black she-cat. Movement at the far side of the cave caught his eye, and he spotted a muscular gray warrior rising to his paws. Scent told him he was looking at Stormfur, so the tabby she-cat with him must be Brooke. Stormfur addressed a stone gray cat who sat on a boulder at the head of the cave. See, it's no use expecting these cats to leave, he meowed. Oh wait, that's not Stormfur's voice. There's no use expecting these cats to leave, he meowed. They want to settle here, and they don't care how much trouble they're giving us. We have to show them that they must respect our territory. And how do we do that? Another cat asked. Hang on, we don't want any other cats living near us. It was the tabby tom who spoke. The mountains are ours. Not anymore, Talon. Stormfur mewed regretfully. We'll just have to get used to it, Brooke added. Stormfur dipped his head in agreement. I suggest, he began. The stone-colored cat on the rock twitched his tail. The tribe of endless hunting has shown me nothing about this, he protested. Oh, wait. That's the older cat. It's so hard when these cats don't have names. Then perhaps the ancestors of these new cats walk in different skies. Stormfur's tone was respectful, but J-Paw could sense his frustration, sharp as thorns. The tribe is used to driving off stray loners, the Grey Warrior continued. But this is different. We have to find a different way of dealing with them. Night, the black she-cat, leaned forward, stretching her neck to look at Stormfur. What do you suggest? Why ask him? The question came from a skinny, speckled brown cat crouched near the rippling screen of water. His muzzle was white with age, and he had lost an eye. Oh. He's only just set paws in the mountains. What does he know about our ways? That's why we should listen, Talon snapped back at him. Stormfur lived where there are many other cats. He must know better than us how to deal with these strangers. That's right, a cat called from the shadows. More cats joined in, some protesting, some encouraging Stormfur until the whole cave was filled with caterwauling. Stormfur mewed something softly to Brooke, and she touched his shoulders with her nose. Wait, yeah. J-Paw flicked his ears. Get on with it, he muttered. Let him speak. Eventually, the gray cat on the rock raised his tail for silence. We will hear what Stormfur has to say, he announced. Thank you, Stone-Teller. Stormfur dipped his head. Turning to the rest of the tribe, he hesitated for a heartbeat. Where I lived in the forest, he began at last, all 4 clans knew that they had to stay out of each other's territories. Cats who trespassed would be driven out. And how are we to do that? A skinny elder demanded. These intruders go where they like. We need to show a sign of strength, Rain, Stormfur explained. His blue eyes glowed. One battle should be all it takes. After that, these newcomers will either go away for good, or they'll stay away from us. To J-Paw's surprise, Brooke stepped forward to stand beside her mate. In the hollow by the lake, she was always quiet, but now her eyes shone, and she held her tail high as she looked around at her tribe mates. Stormfur will teach us what to do, she meowed. He knows battle moves these strangers can't even imagine. He'll likely get us all killed, the elder called Rain grumbled. The tribe has lived in these mountains for seasons upon seasons, Brooke insisted. Are we gonna leave just like that? Several cries of no came out from around the cave. Almost every cat in the tribe had risen to its paws, its pelts bristling and its teeth bared. Only a few, like the gray elder, stayed where they were, glaring at their tribe mates. Amid the uproar, Stoneteller sat unmoved on his rock. J-Paw could not read his expression or sense anything of what he felt. Suddenly, J-Paw realized that the moonlight was fading. The enthusiastic yowls of the tribe changed to screeches of terror and fury. Icy wind ruffled his fur as he was knocked off his paws as another cat charged past him. The air was filled with the reek of blood. Blinking, J-Paw found himself out on the bare mountain. Sighed again. The faint light of dawn drizzled into the sky. Clouds hung over the peaks. He lay on his side on the very edge of a stream, his tail dangling in the gushing water. With a hiss of annoyance, he scrambled to his paws, shaking off the icy droplets and struggling to keep balance on the slick, wet rock. Around him, the narrow valley heaved with the body of fighting cats. Close by, he spotted Talon, rolling over and over in the grip of a powerful silver tom, battering at the intruder's belly with his hind paws. For a heartbeat, the intruder's throat was exposed, but Talon was too slow to sink his teeth in. An apprentice could do better than that, J-Paw thought. A few fox lengths further down the valley, Stormfur jumped onto a boulder. "Leap on their shoulders!" he yowled. "Don't let them pin you down!" He flung himself back into battle, raking his claws across the pelt of a tabby she-cat, then whirling to confront a muscular tom who was shaking a small tribe cat in his jaws as if she were a piece of prey. Brooke was close by, with Night a paw step behind her, stalking around the side of a boulder to creep up on a couple of the attackers as they would have crept up on their prey. J-Paw gritted his teeth. The slender she-cat had never been trained to fight. They sprang bravely at the enemies, but the two invaders were almost twice their size and fought back with slashing claws. J-Paw was jostled aside by another pair of fighting cats, snagging his pelt on a thorny bush that grew in the crevice between two rocks. One cat fell on top of him, pushing vainly at the weight of fur and muscle, his jaws flooded with the stench of blood. J-Paw thought at first that it was dead. Then it jerked convulsively, pulled itself to his paws, and dragged itself into the shadows behind a boulder. J-Paw staggered to his paws, ripping his fur as he tore himself free of the bush. Another tribe cat fled past him, a powerful gray-black tom, his fur ripped on one shoulder soaked in blood. Where am I? A black and white cat caught up with him, crashing into his side and flinging him to the ground. "Slit its belly open!" J-Paw hissed. No. Sorry, Dingy Flory. My nose is so itchy. The tribe cat didn't hear him. He fought with courage, refusing to give up even when the invader slashed open a wound down the length of his flank. But he had none of the skills that would let him throw off his attacker. The invading tom bit down hard on his throat, then sprang away, leaving the limp body of the tribe cat half in, half out of the water. His gray fur darkened as blood soaked into it. J-Paw caught sight of Stormfur again. At the center of the group of tribe cats, including Talon, the gray warrior was yowling encouragement, trying to force a way through the crowd of intruders to drive them back, but the attackers flowed over them like floodwater. "Knock them off balance!" Stormfur yowled. "Don't let them—" Whatever order he was trying to give were lost as two of the attackers leaped at him from opposite sides. Stormfur vanished in a whirl of teeth and claws. One by one, the tribe cats broke away, fleeing upstream towards the steeper slopes. One of them halted beside the body of the gray tom and let out a wail of grief and despair, before pelting onward and disappearing into the shadows. "That's right, run!" The silver tabby tom bounded to the top of a boulder, jeering at the tribe cats as they fled. "Run and don't come back!" "Rabbits!" A brown and white she-cat added, leaping up to the silver tom's side. "This is our place now!" "No! Stop!" Stormfur screeched, shaking off his attacker with splatter of blood. "We can still drive them back!" No cat listened to him except for Brooke, standing at his shoulder and begging her tribe mates to come back. Then she glanced over her shoulder and her neck fur bristled as she saw a fresh wave of intruders hurling up the slope. "Stormfur, it's no use," Brooke wailed. "We can't fight them at all." "You go," Stormfur's voice was a hoarse growl. He touched his mate's shoulder at the tip of his tail. Not without you. Brooke's eyes were wide with fear, but she dug her claws into the thin soil. Stormfur let out a hiss of frustration. Go! He gave Brooke a hefty shove with one shoulder. Go on, I'm coming. He let out one last snarl at the invaders, who are now barely a tail length away. He raced upstream behind Brooke. The attackers didn't bother to chase them. They just stood and watched, their eyes gleaming with triumph, until the last tribe cat had disappeared. J-Paw staggered, and when his vision cleared, he found himself in the tribe's cave again. His pelt was still sticky with blood, but the noise of the battle had faded away. Silver light trembled on the cave walls as the moon shone through the falling water. The rustling of the river was the only sound. Stoneteller was sitting on his rock, his fur ruffled and one ear dark with crusted blood. The rest of the tribe was huddled around him. J-Paw couldn't see one of them who didn't bear wounds from the battle. In the center of the cave, several limp bodies were lying. Stormfur was stooping over one of them, and J-Paw recognized the dark gray Tom whose death he had witnessed. Jag, Stormfur murmured, you were a good friend. May you walk the mountains forever with the tribe of endless hunting. He bent his head. Where am I? And touched his nose to the matted gray fur. Quietly, Brooke padded up beside him. Come and rest, she mewed. But before the gray warrior could move, Stoneteller's voice rang out from the other end of the cave. Stormfur! The gray Tom looked up. Stormfur, what have you to say? Stormfur's eyes clouded. What do you want me to say? The tribe fought as well as it could have done. I couldn't hope to stand beside braver warriors. We must make another plan so that... No. Stoneteller's voice was cold. No more plans. Not from you. We took your advice and we were defeated. Many good cats are dead. His tail flicked once towards the bodies lying on the cave floor. I told you what would happen. Rain was crouched at the foot of Stoneteller's rock. But would any cat listen? I'm sorry, Stormfur tried again. There is no place here for the ways of the clan, Stoneteller interrupted. There is no place for clan cats in the mountains. You will bring only more death and bad luck if you stay here. You must go and never return. What? Stormfur stared at him in disbelief. You're blaming me for this when I... Enough! Stoneteller snarled. Go now. Brooke stepped forward. Stoneteller, this isn't right. Stormfur did his best to help us. He took the same risks as every cat. He could be lying there now, with Jag and the others. If we hadn't listened to him, these cats would still be alive. Stoneteller's gaze was colder than ice. He's right, Brooke. Talon, standing beside Stoneteller's boulder, flicked his ears uneasily. Clan ways aren't for us. Brooke's eyes widened. J-Paw could feel the distress flooding through her as if it was his own. But Talon, you're my brother. Her voice quivered. Can't you understand? Talon scraped at the cave floor with his forepaws. It's what's best for the tribe. Knight? Brooke turned to appeal to the black she-cat. We've been friends since we were tubies. We've hunted together. We fought together. Can't you see that the tribe needs Stormfur? Knight's green eyes narrowed. I can see that you need Stormfur. Brooke's ears flattened and her jaws parted in the beginning of a snarl. Are you saying I'm no longer loyal to my tribe? Knight turned her head away without answering. Enough of this, Stoneteller meowed. Stormfur, you are no longer welcome among the tribe. You must leave at once. Brooke's tail fluffed up. If he goes, I go, she hissed. Brooke, be careful, Stormfur murmured. The gentle prey hunter's eyes were blazing. Do you think I could stay here after this? Stormfur is right when he says you should think about what you say. Stoneteller rose to his paws, towering over the other cats from the top of his boulder. Do you truly want to abandon your fate to this cat and his clan? Do you trust him? With my life, Brooke mewed. Stoneteller's contempt was obvious by the flick of his tail. You have no more sense than a kit after what this clan cat has done to the tribe. Stormfur arched his back and hissed. You seem to have forgotten that my sister died for the tribe. If it weren't for the clan cats, every last one of you would have been eaten by Sharptooth. J-Paw noticed that some of the tribe cats, Talon included, looked uneasy, but none of them spoke. Come on, Brook. Stormfur urged his mate towards the cave opening where the glittering water fell. We'll go and find the clans. Brook, if you leave now, you leave forever, Stoneteller warned. Brook didn't even look at him as she and Stormfur padded away. Very well, Stoneteller called after them. I shall tell the tribe of Endless Hunting that you are both dead to the cats you leave behind. Dang, that's harsh. Let me have a sippy of water. I think that's one of the, most... I wouldn't say awful. I guess it is awful, but I think it's the most vicious, maybe? The vicious thing to do to someone is act as if they're dead. If, you're disowned, then the family goes and, has a funeral for you and, has a gravestone for you and mourns you as if you've died. That's messed up. That's messed up. And that's essentially what they're doing. That would be crazy. Yeah, and then no matter how much you try and, speak Death Toll 5 now? Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you, Pappy. We have confirmed, I guess it would be 5+, right? Because technically we know some other cats died, but they weren't named. 5+. Okay. Shout out to those unnamed dead cats. But no, we're not counting Stormfur as a death toll. If that's what you are insinuating, implying. That would be funny though. Chapter 9. Let me move my little microphone over a little bit. There we go. J-Paw! Hey! J-Paw! J-Paw felt a sharp nudge at his side. Hollypaw's scent drifted over him, tinged with exasperation. He lurched on his paws, confused at the sudden return to blindness and the scents and sounds of the stone hollow. Every hair on his pelt still quivered with the feeling of grief and anger and betrayal he had felt in the cave. Brooke, he thought. I was feeling what she felt. And it wasn't a dream. I'd been awake a whole time. Could I have found a way into her memories? He drew in his breath sharply, full of excitement at the thought of a new and different power, but there was no time to explore it now. J-Paw, I don't know how you can daydream in a time like this, Lion-Paw mewed. We need to listen and find out why these strange cats have come here. J-Paw realized that while he felt as if he had spent several days with the tribe, here in the clearing only a few heartbeats had passed. The newcomers were still crouched beside the fresh kill pile, along with Stormfur, Brook, and Firestar. I think I know why, he murmured, and I don't think Stormfur and Brook will be too pleased to see them. What do you mean? Hollypaw asked curiously. Why wouldn't they want to see their tribe mates? Before J-Paw could explain, telling the story of his experience would have taken him until moon-high. He heard the harsh voice of Talon. Firestar, we have asked Stormfur and Brook to return to the mountains. The tribe of Rushing Water needs them. J-Paw felt his pelt prickling with excitement. The tribe's rejection of Brook and Stormfur still rang in his ears, but from the ThunderClan cats, he picked up nothing but cautious interest. What? Stormfur's voice was a low snarl of outrage. How dare you come here and ask that? As far as the tribe is concerned, Brook and I are dead. J-Paw heard gasps of astonishment from the ThunderClan cats. Told you, he muttered to his littermates with a shrug. Stormfur, I think you'd better explain. Firestar's voice was calm, but J-Paw could tell he was concerned for the two cats who had come back to make their lives with ThunderClan. Stormfur began to tell the story of the invading cats, but J-Paw didn't bother to listen. He had lived through it all, and he was far more interested in finding out how he had done it. I must have been inside Brooke's memories. He tried to do it again, but the tabby she-cat was concentrating on what her mate was saying and on the reactions of the other cats. Her memories were a blank. Stormfur stopped at the sound of cats pushing their way through the thorn tunnel. "Firestar!" Brambleclaw called out. "We scented intruders!" "The intruders are here," Firestar replied. J-Paw realized that Sandstorm and Squirrelflight were with Brambleclaw. "Talon Knight!" Squirrelflight meowed. "I thought I recognized tribe scent." "It's strange to think that our mother and father spent so much time with the tribe," Lionpaw murmured. We're not the only ones who can have adventures. Hollypop purred. "It's great to see you both again," Squirrelflight went on. "Why are you here?" She paused, then added, "And why is every cat looking as if the sky has fallen in?" "I think you'd better hear what Stormfur has to tell us," Firestar mewed. The Grey Warrior began to speak again, having seen him in Brooke's memories. J-Paw could picture him now, strong and sleek-furred, with anger smoldering in his blue eyes. And that's a good point. That, like, coming soon entertainment, hi, it's random! It's Skyrim! Were you playing the thing that yesterday someone rated and they were recommending a Skyrim game mod? Were you playing that? Let me see what Juice had to say that I missed. So what happened, because I thought this was a meeting at the beginning of the chapter. I was not, but I planned to at some point. Nice! I hope it went well! So what happened, Juice, was... So the intruders came in, and J-Paw he's kind of like a magical medicine cat. He's blind, and he kind of like synced up with Brooke's memories. So what we were reading at the beginning of, or in the middle of that chapter, was J-Paw kind of like reliving the memories of what happened to Stormfur and Brooke when they were in the tribe. So for him, he was like imagining everything that was going on, but in reality, everybody was still like, you know, in the clearing. And nothing really happened because only like a second passed. The land of streams so vast and wide, a player of games did happily reside. With a love of lore and magic's might, they ventured into Skyrim one fateful night. But oh. No tales of past broadcasts could be found, but oh, the places they'll go in that snowy ground with survival mode and deaths at one. This streamer's journey had only just begun. New Pog. Well, thank you for dropping by. Thank you for the raid. We're in the middle of reading, so I will continue. A small sippy break, though. Let's see. Not long after the clans left on the great journey, Stormfur meowed, another group of strange cats came to the mountains. We thought at first they were only passing through, Brooke explained. We would have welcomed them as guests for a while. But they made it clear they wanted to settle, Stormfur went on. They took prey from the tribe, even hunting close to the cave behind the waterfall. Flea-bitten thieves, Talon growled. We never had to share our territory before, Brooke meowed. We drove out loners now and then, but we didn't know what to do about such a large group of cats. Stormfur took up the story again. I thought we needed a show of strength to defend our territory, and I led the tribe cats into battle to make sure the strangers would know not to bother us or steal our prey. They tore us to pieces, Night mewed angrily. The tribe cats aren't trained to fight like clan warriors, Stormfur explained. We lost the battle and several cats died. He hesitated, and when he spoke again, his voice was filled with sorrow. Jag was one of them. Jag dead? Squirrelflight exclaimed. Oh no, he helped us when we were stuck in the snow on the great journey. Well, I'll miss him, Brambleclaw added, every cat who knew him. Stormteller blamed me for the deaths. Stormfur's voice sounded bitter as death berries. He banished me from the tribe. Brooke insisted on coming with me. What else could I do? Brooke murmured, as if her words were meant for Stormfur alone. J-Paw remembered seeing them together in the cave, their pelts brushing as they defied the leader of the tribe. And what else could Stoneteller do? Talon countered. Cats were dead. Something had to be done. He told us we were dead. Brooke's voice, so gentle a heartbeat ago, became a furious hiss. I can't believe those tribe cats dared to come here, Hollypaw whispered into J-Paw's ear. Not after what they did. I'm so sorry, Stormfur. Brambleclaw's meow rumbled deep in his chest. You should have told us before. What good would that have done? Stormfur demanded. You made us welcome. We're ThunderClan cats now. J-Paw picked up a murmur from Brooke, too low for him to make out what she said. She's not a ThunderClan cat, he thought. She's a tribe cat and always will be. She's never felt at home here. Reaching out to her, he couldn't enter her memory again, but he sensed her mind was full of rock and wind, of cascading water and screeching birds high in the air, the shadow of their wings big enough to cover a whole patrol. His attention snapped back to the clearing as Talon began to speak. We've come to ask for your help. A swift intake of breath came from Stormfur, but he didn't interrupt. Stoneteller was wrong. Talon sounded awkward. The other cats are stealing our prey. The tribe is dying of hunger. And how is that my problem? Stormfur asked icily. I understand how you feel, Talon meowed. I was banished once, when I failed to kill Sharptooth. And I know, but it was only because of Stormfur and the other clan cats that you were able to come back to the tribe, Brooke reminded him. That's true, but I was able to forgive the tribe when I knew I could do something to help them. Besides, Brooke, you're my sister and I miss you. I want you to come home. You may live under the shadow of trees here, with grass under your paws, but you still belong in the tribe. J-Paw heard a long sigh from Brooke. I will come back with you. I cannot let my tribe mates suffer, not if there's something I can do for them. Stormfur, there was a catch in her voice. You do not have to come. You are not a tribe cat. Where you go, so do I, Stormfur told her. That's what you said when Stoneteller banished me. Do you think I would do any less for you? I will never forgive Stoneteller for killing me in the eyes of the tribe, but there's no reason to let your kinson suffer. I'll go too. J-Paw's ears pricked up in astonishment at the sound of Brambleclaw's voice. My paw steps have been entwined with the tribes before. I will honor our friendship. J-Paw sensed Stormfur's surprise. You don't have to do this, the Grey Warrior meowed. Yes, I do. What the tribe needs now are strong, fit warriors. How can they defend themselves when they're weakened by hunger and constant fighting? I'm coming too! Scoreflight sounded as if her mind was made up. You didn't manage to leave me behind last time, and I wasn't even a warrior then. Firestar? Brambleclaw asked. What do you think? May we go? J-Paw's belly tightened as he waited for Firestar's answer. He hadn't had the chance to work out what this might mean for him yet he knew it was really important for ThunderClan warriors to go to the mountains. But Brambleclaw was clan deputy. Would Firestar let him leave the clan? Yes, you may, Firestar meowed. The tribe gave the clans food and shelter on the great journey. It is our turn to help them. It's for Stormfur and Brooke, too, he added. You've been loyal ThunderClan cats. We owe you for your help after the Badgers attacked. Thank you. Talon's voice was husky with relief. All the tribe of Rushing Water thanks you for this. J-Paw was aware of excitement and shared purpose surging from the warriors. His paws itched to share it. But if ThunderClan warriors were traveling to the mountains, would they ever let an apprentice join them? Never mind a blind one, Mr. J-Paw. Chapter 10. Every hair on Lion Paw's pelt prickled with excitement. The moment he'd longed for had come, the chance to go to the mountains. 4 ThunderClan cats wouldn't be able to deal with the invaders, not if they were as strong as Stormfur and Talon said. Surely StarClan had arranged this, so that he could visit the tribe and find out about them, and show them how real warriors lived. His claws scratched at the earth floor of the hollow as the walls loomed overhead, closing him in. He had never felt so confined before. The weight of stone seemed to press on his fur. He wanted to race up the nearest cliff and run through the forest, across the hills, all the way to the mountains. ThunderClan! All the way to the mountains, with wind in his fur. Calm down, J-Paw mewed. They're hardly going to take apprentices along. Linepaw rolled his eyes. J-Paw, I wish you wouldn't keep reading my mind. You mean you want to go to the mountains? Hollypaw asked. They'll need more cats, Linepaw pointed out, ready to defend himself. 4's not enough. But J-Paw's probably right, he added, his excitement fading as he realized that what the tribe needed was help from experienced warriors. They won't take apprentices. Hollypaw wants to go, and so do I, J-Paw announced unexpectedly. Brambleclaw and Squirrelflight are going, so why shouldn't we see if we can go too? Even if they say no, they can't claw us just for asking. You really want to go? Linepaw meowed to Hollypaw. She bounced to her paws, her tail fluffed out and her whiskers quivering. I want to find out how the tribe cats live. I've never met cats who are different from us. We could learn a lot. J-Paw murmured agreement, though he said nothing about his own reasons for wanting to go. But that was J-Paw, Linepaw reflected. He always buried his thoughts deeper than hidden prey. Ow, my nail. I want to know what else there is besides the forest, too, he confessed. I know this is ThunderClan's home, but there are loads of other territories out there. What are they like? Well, then we should, Hollypaw began, breaking off as Firestar rose to his paws. We need to discuss this, he meowed, but my den is too small for all the cats who are going. Let's go into the forest. Glancing at the other cats who stood listening, he added, Graystripe, Sandstorm, Leafpool, you come too. Linepaw watched as the cats headed towards the thorn tunnel. The rest of the clan seemed reluctant to go back to their dens and return to their duties. They huddled together, their eyes doubtful. There's no way we should risk our own warriors to help the tribe, Spiderleg complained, loud enough for the departing cats to hear him. Haven't we got enough problems of our own? Firestar ears flicked as if he heard what the young warrior said, but he didn't stop to reply before vanishing down the tunnel. Things are pretty peaceful right now, Whitewing pointed out. Whitewing's right. Ashfur rose from where he was sitting between Cloudtail and Brightheart. We can easily spare a few warriors. Brambleclaw's doing the right thing by helping the tribe. Remember what they did for us when we made the great journey? We would have died in the snow if they hadn't found us. Well, I think it's it's nonsense. Mousefur stalked up to Ashfur, her skinny brown tail lashing. If the tribe cats can't defend their own borders, that's their problem, not ours. Longtail padded up beside her and touched her shoulder briefly with his tail tip. I'd love to go back to the mountains. His voice was wistful. I know I couldn't see where the tribe lived, but I could feel the wide open spaces and the wind in my fur, and all of the scents the wind carried from far away. I'd love to go back too. Birchfall's eyes glowed with memories. The great journey was fun. I had 3 good friends in ShadowClan, Toadkit, Applekit, and Marshkit. I wonder how they are now. Who cares? Berrynose flicked his tail. Linepaw thought he could see jealousy in the Cream Warrior's eyes. ShadowClan cats can't be your friends anymore. Have you forgotten how you nearly got your fur clawed off on the border? Oh my god, Berrynose, why? And whose fault was that? Linepaw asked silently, while Birchfall looked downcast, his tail drooping. Poor Birchfall! Anyway, Berrynose went on, I don't see what's so great about the mountains. It sounds bare and cold up there, with no prey. You know nothing about it, Dustpelt rasped, narrowing his eyes. You weren't there. As Berrynose rudely turned his back on the senior warrior, Linepaw beckoned with his tail for his littermates to follow him out of earshot of the group. That does it, he exclaimed. If Birchfall could travel through the mountains and survive when he was just a kid, why shouldn't apprentices go? You'll be okay too, he added to J-Paw. Longtail coped after all. He saw J-Paw's neck fur begin to fluff up, but Linepaw was too excited to fret about offending his brother. If J-Paw wanted to be prickly every time some cat mentioned his blindness, that was his problem. We've got to find Firestar and ask him right now, he mewed, before Brambleclaw and the others leave. He glanced around to see if any cat was paying attention to them. By now the group of cats was beginning to break up. Cloudtail and Sorreltail and Dustpelt. Cloudtail called Sorreltail and Dustpelt to go out on a hunting patrol, while the elders returned to their den. 2 or 3 of the other warriors padded over to the fresh kill pile and picked out prey. Outside the nursery, Daisy and Millie stretched out in the sunshine and began sharing tongues, with Daisy's kits skipping around them. "Quick, while our mentors aren't looking!" Hollypaw urged, angling her ears to where Ashfur and Rakenfur were talking together in the middle of the clearing. Lionpaw dived after her as she bounded across the clearing and thrust her way through the thorn tunnel. When all 3 apprentices were out into the forest, she turned to Jaypaw. "Come on, you're best at scenting. Which way did Firestar go?" The scent trail left by the clan leader and the other cats had begun to fade, but Lionpaw could still distinguish it among the competing scents of the forest, especially the unfamiliar scent of the tribe cats. "You know," he mewed to Hollypaw as they followed Jaypaw through the trees, "I just realized that Brooke smells like a ThunderClan cat now. Do you think she'll be able to settle when she goes back to her tribe mates?" Hollypaw flashed him a brief glance. "That's for Stoneteller to say. He seems to speak for the tribe." "Stoneteller speaks too much by the sound of it," Jaypaw mewed. "I'm glad Firestar isn't like that." He led the way through the forest until Lionpaw could hear the ripple of waves on the lake shore. The scent of cats was very strong here. Jaypaw crept quietly up to the top of a gentle rise and parted a clump of bracken carefully with one paw. Without speaking, he signaled with his tail for his brother and sister to join him. Beyond the bracken, the ground fell away into a sunlit clearing with a soft covering of moss and leaf mold. On the opposite side of the lake was just visible between the trees. A breeze rustled through the leaves, blowing towards the 3 apprentices, so the group of warriors would be unlikely to pick up their scents. Firestar was sitting in the middle of the clearing with his paws tucked under him. "Squirrelflight, you'll need to find a temporary mentor for Foxpaw," he was saying. Squirrelflight dipped her head in agreement. "I'd like to ask Sorreltail if that's okay with you. She's never had an apprentice, so it would be good experience for her as well." "Sorreltail would be great," Leafpool added warmly. "Fine. I'll have a word with her when we get back to camp." Firestar turned to Brambleclaw. "I'm not sure that 4 extra cats are going to be enough to help the tribe, but I daren't weaken ThunderClan by sending more warriors with you." Hollypaw nudged Lionpaw. "Maybe that's a chance for us," she whispered. "I thought of that," Brambleclaw replied to Firestar. "I'd like to take cats from all 4 clans with us, the ones who went with us on the first journey to find Midnight in the Sundrown place." Lionpaw pushed Jaypaw and beckoned Hollypaw with a flick of his ears to creep along the top of a rise as far as the holly bush, where they could hide and still see and hear everything that was going on. Firestar began to speak again as they settled among the debris under the branches, their pelts brushing. "That makes sense," Firestar meowed in reply to Brambleclaw. "The cats who've known the tribe longest should be the ones most willing to go." "And it would be good to see Crowfeather and Tawnypelt again," Talon murmured. "This isn't part of the warrior code," Firestar went on. "I can't ask any cat to go unless he or she already wants to. And of course I can't speak for cats in other clans, but I believe that helping the tribe is the right thing to do." Lionpaw was puzzled. If it's the right thing, why isn't it in the warrior code? "It is in the code," Hollypaw insisted. "Thank you for the follow, the god of clouds, Rhea!" Where was I? I lost it. "Oh, that is in the code," Hollypaw insisted. "The warrior code says that we're allowed to help other clans in trouble. Firestar's obviously thinking of the tribe as another clan." "Then it's decided then," Firestar meowed. "Squirrelflight, you'll go to Wind Clan and ask Crowfeather, and Brambleclaw, you can go to Shadow Clan to ask Tawnypelt." "There's no need to go to River Clan." Linepaw's pelt pricked with sympathy and sorrow at the sorrow and storm for his eyes. "Feathertail was a chosen cat, and she died in the mountains. I went with her, so I shall stand for River Clan now." The cats in the clearing were silent for a moment. Squirrelflight rested her tail comfortingly on Stormfur's shoulder. "The tribe will always honor Feathertail's memory," Night mewed softly. Jaypaw twitched. "This is a good plan," Talon broke the silence at last. Stoneteller knows the 5 of you better than any other clan cats, so it's more likely to trust you. What? Brooke's ears flattened, and she turned her head to stare at her brother. Stoneteller did send you to fetch us, didn't he? Knight and Talon looked at their paws. Talon's tail flickered uncomfortably. Not exactly, he mumbled, then added, but I'm sure he'll be glad when he knows you've come to help. Great. Stormfur's voice was bitter. I get to be told I'm dead all over again. Off topic. I'm back and still getting Spanish ads for some reason. The same Spanish ads? Don't they have diversity in their ads? Maybe they just really, really want you to buy whatever they're selling in that ad. Let's see. Hair product thing. Brooke pressed her muzzle to her mates. Please, Stormfur, we have to do this. Stoneteller won't be the healer forever, but the tribe deserves to last beyond his lifetime. Why couldn't I read that? Dang it. Please, Stormfur, we have to do this. Stoneteller won't be the healer forever, but the tribe deserves to last beyond his lifespan. There we go. Finally got the dog back inside. Ruff, ruff. I do have long hair, but I also don't have money. Isn't that real? Isn't that a real thing? Too real. From what Talon and Knight say, we don't have much time. Firestar meowed. Brambleclaw, you can leave for ShadowClan right away. And you 3 can come out now. Squirrelflight rose to her paws and stared straight at the holly bush. Foxtongue, Hollypaw muttered. We'll end up searching for the elders for ticks instead of going to the mountains. Come on, Squirrelflight repeated. If you don't want to be seen, Lionpaw, don't leave your tail sticking out. His fur hot with embarrassment, Lionpaw emerged from the bush and padded down the slope towards his mother. Mousebrain, Hollypaw hissed as she followed him with Jaypaw. You shouldn't have been spying, Squirrelflight mewed severely when the 3 apprentices were standing in front of her. Cats who listen uninvited might hear things they don't want to. But we had to listen, Lionpaw burst out. We want to go with you. Squirrelflight's green eyes stretched wide in astonishment, while Jaypaw's neck fur was fluffing up ominously. But to Lionpaw's relief, Firestar blinked in amusement. Don't be angry with them, he told Squirrelflight. They remind me of a certain ginger apprentice who also insisted on journeying when she hadn't been invited. Squirrelflight huffed, making her whiskers flutter, and she gave a single lash of her tail. Why do you want to go? Firestar prompted. Lionpaw was opening his jaws to reply when Hollypaw gave him a nudge. We want to help the tribe cats too, she announced. Lionpaw and I are good fighters, and Jaypaw can help heal cats who are injured. Thanks a bunch, Jaypaw muttered. Jaypaw can do more than that, Leafpool meowed calmly. Jaypaw jumped as if he were surprised to find the medicine cat on his side. For what it's worth, Leafpool went on, I think they should be allowed to go. When we lived in the forest, all the apprentices made the journey to Mothermouth to visit the Moonstone before they became warriors. We seem to have left that tradition behind, but I think there's value in apprentices making a long journey to see what lies beyond their territories. Warmth spread through Lionpaw from whisker to tail tip as he heard Leafpool putting words to the longing in his own mind. Please, can we go? He begged. I agree with Leafpool, Sandstorm mewed. There's nothing to be lost in meeting other cats and seeing how they live. Her gaze held Firestar's for a moment, as if she and the clan leader were sharing memories. Brambleclaw, what do you think? Firestar asked. There'll be an extra responsibility, and it could be very rough for them. A long, hard journey and fighting at the end of it. I'm sure my kids can manage. There was a glow of approval in Brambleclaw's amber eyes as his gaze swept over the 3 apprentices. I'll be proud to take them to meet the tribe of Rushing Water. Even if we're not sure of our reception? Stormfur reminded him softly. No cat answered. Instead, Brambleclaw rose to his paws. Are you ready? He asked Lionpaw. For what? Lionpaw meowed, his paws tingling with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. We must go to Shadow Clan and see if Tawny Pelt will come with us, his father replied. Great! Lionpaw couldn't help himself from bouncing eagerly, then froze, cross that he was behaving like a stupid kid, not kiss. I'm looking forward to seeing Tawny Pelt's kids. They're my kin, he added, trying to sound more dignified. Squirrelflight glanced briefly at Leafpool. Hollypaw, you can come with me to Wind Clan to find out if Crowfeather will come with us. She meowed. What about me? Jaypaw asked. Come back to the clearing with me, Leafpool told him. We need to prepare traveling herbs. If the other cats agree to go, Firestar mewed, bring them back to the hollow. You can leave in the morning. Fine. Let's go, Hollypaw. Squirrelflight waved her tail and set off through the trees towards the Wind Clan border. Hollypaw darted after her, almost stumbling over her paws in her haste. All set, Lionpaw? Brambleclaw asked. Lionpaw nodded. His chest felt tight at the thought of crossing the border to another clan's territory. Good luck, all of you, Firestar called. Lionpaw waited until Hollypaw's black pelt had vanished among the rustling bracken. Then he turned and plunged into the undergrowth, following his father. Who let the dogs out? Who, who. Here's a fun no-no fact. I did tap dancing when I was a kid, and one of the songs that I danced to was Who Let the Dogs Out. Real no-no facts. Chapter 11! Oh wait, let me check something. Ooh. I had to. He relayed my kindness by running around for a solid 30 minutes. Ruff, 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 ruff. All right. Chapter 11. Wait, let me turn on the lights. Guys, I'm getting a little worried about my butt plant. Yesterday I showed a picture of it on stream, and today it's even more drained, but I'm concerned about how the sprout is looking. And I can't tell. I think it's the way that the sprout is attached to the leaves of the dead leaves. My butt plant! My butt succulent. It's a succulent that looks like a butt. They're also called living stones, but I think butt plant is a lot better. So like I think because I was touching it, I might have ripped it a little bit, so I'm concerned I messed it up. So I'm not going to touch it anymore, even though I was just touching it a second ago. I'm not going to touch it anymore starting now. Yeah! Wait, you have to go see. It's on my Twitter. Or you can just Google it, right? Butt succulent into Google. Butt succulent. And you'll see the butts. Butt-succulent. Bruh. See? Isn't it? Nah, don't Google butt-succulent. Google butt-succulent. Do you see it? Do you see the little bottoms? The bottoms? Should I turn on safe search? No. Well, I guess maybe I have blur explicit images. It's a plant. You should be fine. Or like, no, it's fine, you goofball. I'm thinking of getting like, you can buy like seeds off of Etsy and stuff of like lilaps, which is what the butt plants are. You can buy like little seeds, and I'm really tempted of buying a bunch, and then they're just gonna be like random colors, right? Like the colorful varieties. It'll be very exciting. And then I could have like a whole, my whole windowsill can be covered with little butt plants. I searched it. What do you think? Hi, Don. Don, you're streaming right now, aren't you? Thickest plant I've ever seen. Right? It's so funny. I think they're the funniest little things in the world. Like, why do you exist? You're just a little bum. Reminds me of my fiance. Aw, you should get your fiance a butt plant and say, this reminds me of you. And then they'll be like, why? And then you'd be like, because it's the thickest plant I've ever seen. And then they'll be like, aw, that's so cute. Oh, little butts, butts. It's interesting because some of these butt plants, you can see the new butt growth is so big, but mine and some of the others are very small. I wonder if that's because of how much nutrients it did or did not suck, you lint, during the year. Who knows? Hey, Nono, I'm back. I was just being rude to some pink creature girl. Like me, I'm pink. No being rude. You gotta be nice. Give them a little pat on the head and a kiss on the cheek. That's the way to go. I think you need to smack it to grow faster. No, it'll die. All right, let's continue our reading. Wind whipped through Lionpaw's pelt as he raced towards the Shadow Clan border. He couldn't think of anywhere he would rather be than running beside his father. No! Well, not my butt plants, at least. Where was I? Oh. With an important mission ahead and the chance to prove himself, he was proud of how he kept up with Brambleclaw. Automod looking at my chats. It's always so funny to see what my automods will mod because I have it on extreme, I'm pretty sure. I have it on extreme, and the other day it got someone's message got tagged for bullying because they said I'm gonna cuck you, like, you know, like like something like that. And I was like, what? It was funny, though. Nana, what makes you think I'm gonna pet the pink creature and kiss it? Because you're kind and gentle and sweet. That's why. Okay, continuing. He was proud of how he kept up with Brambleclaw. He wasn't as big, but his legs were nearly as long. Watch out, Brambleclaw warned, fallen tree ahead. Lionpaw had already spotted it. A beech with smooth gray bark, brought down in the storm of the previous leaf bear. A few dead leaves still clung to its branches, rustling in the breeze. Brambleclaw skirted the roots, but Lionpaw sprang upwards, scrambling with his hind paws to drag himself on top of the trunk, and pushed his way through the branches until he could leap down on the other side. He wanted to show Brambleclaw just how fast and powerful he could be. So when a small stream crossed their path, he gathered his muscles for an enormous leap and launched himself across the water. His paws stretched for a smooth, flat stone on the opposite side, but just before he landed, a blackbird erupted from a hazel bush just ahead, giving a raucous alarm call. Startled, Lion Paw landed awkwardly. His hind paws slipped and cold water surged over his haunches and tail. "Mouse dung!" he spat, his claws scoring the stone as he dragged himself out. Brambleclaw was waiting for him on the bank, amusement glimmering in his amber eyes. "Steady on," he purred. "You're not a River Clan cat, and we haven't time for fishing." "Sorry." Lionpaw muttered. Glittering drops of water spun away from his pelt as he tried to shake himself dry. As they drew closer to Shadow Clan territory, Brambleclaw pace slowed until he came to a halt on the border not far from the dead tree. "What are we waiting for?" Lionpaw mewed. "A Shadow Clan patrol," his father replied. "They'll escort us to camp." "But you know where their camp is," Lionpaw protested, flexing his claws in frustration. "It's not as if we're attacking them. Why can't we just go?" "Because Blackstar won't see it like that." Brambleclaw looked down at him, serious now. "We're coming to take one of his warriors away on a long, dangerous journey to help a completely different group of cats. He won't like it, and I can't say I blame him. Besides, the warrior code forbids us to trespass on another clan's territory, whether we're friendly or not. We'll wait." He sat down just on the ThunderClan side of the border and wrapped his tail over his paws. If you want something to do, you could groom that wet fur. I don't want ShadowClan thinking that ThunderClan apprentices can't look after themselves." Lionpaw's pelt had begun to dry, the hairs clumping together in untidy tufts. He sat down and gave himself a thorough washing, stretching his neck over his back and to reach every last scrap of fur. When he had finished, there was still no ShadowClan warriors in sight. "Do they even patrol their borders? Their borders," he grumbled, batting at a beetle that was climbing a grass stem near his nose. Brambleclaw had settled into a crouch, his paws tucked comfortably under him and his eyes slitted, enjoying the sun. "They'll be along soon. You can hunt if you want, but make sure you stay on this side of the border." Lionpaw sprang up, but before he could pinpoint any prey, he heard the sound of pelts swishing through the break a few fox lengths away. A Shadowcat patrol had appeared from the arching fronds and stalked towards the border. Lionpaw recognized Russet Fur, the ShadowClan deputy, but the other two, a young dark brown Tom and a tortoiseshell she-cat, were strangers to him. As soon as he spotted Brambleclaw and Lionpaw waiting by the border, young Tom exclaimed, "Intruders! I knew I'd scented them!" He bounded forward, his fur bristling. "Toadfoot, wait!" Russet Fur overtook her clanmate and padded up to Brambleclaw. "What do you want?" "Greetings." Brambleclaw dipped his head, ignoring the deputy's hostile tone. "We're not intruding, Russet Fur. Just waiting for an escort to your camp. We need to speak to Blackstar." Russet Fur's whiskers twitched suspiciously. "What's so important that it can't wait until the gathering?" "A decision that Blackstar must make now." The ShadowClan deputy lashed her tail. Lionpaw guessed she was furious that Brambleclaw wouldn't tell her what his business was. Reluctantly, she stepped back, jerking her head to invite Brambleclaw and Lionpaw across the border. "Ivytail, run back to the camp and warn Blackstar," she ordered. "Toadfoot, keep an eye out behind. We need to be sure there aren't any more ThunderClan warriors lurking about." She turned and stalked off, with Brambleclaw patting quietly at her shoulder, while Toadface drew closer to Lionpaw, fixing him with a fierce glare. "Don't even think about unsheathing your claws," he hissed. "Don't worry, I won't," Lionpaw retorted. He remembered Birchfall back in camp, talking about his friendship with ShadowClan kits during the Great Journey. Toadkit was one of the names he'd mentioned. This young warrior must be the same cat. "Do you remember Birchkit?" he asked, trying to be more friendly. "He's Birchfall now." "So?" Toadfoot sounded just as hostile. "He was telling us about you earlier today. He said what a good friend he was with you and your littermates." For a heartbeat, he thought he saw a shadow of sadness in Toadfoot's eyes, but it was gone before he could be sure. "That was on the Great Journey," Toadfoot meowed. "Things are different then. Things were different then. I'm a ShadowClan warrior now." Lionpaw stifled a sigh. Why couldn't you be a loyal warrior and still have friends in other clans? He wondered if things had been better on the Great Journey when there was no borders, so you didn't have to be enemies with other cats just because of where they lived. But he couldn't go on thinking about that now, not when Russet Fur was leading them deeper into ShadowClan territory. Lionpaw's whiskers twitched as they skirted the empty stretch of grass where Two Legs came in for Greenleaf. He had seen the flat green pelts that they put there when he was on border patrols, but he had never set paw anywhere near them. He tasted Two Legs' scent as Russet Fur led them past, creeping on close to the ground in the shadow of the ferns, but there was no noise of Two Leg yowling or any sight of the Two Legs themselves. As they left the clearing behind, Lionpaw was surprised to find the woodland on the other side looked just like ThunderClan territory, but gradually the familiar oak trees and beech gave way to tall, dark pines, with spiky shadows trapped in their branches. Birdsong echoed strangely from the narrow, leafless trunks. The undergrowth of fern and bramble thinned out until the cats were padding across ground that was bare except for thick covering of brown pine needles. Suppressing a shiver, Lionpaw hurried so he could catch up to Brambleclaw and walk at his side. His father flashed him a sympathetic glance and brushed his tail comfortingly across his shoulder. At last, Lionpaw began to pick up the mingled scents of many cats, coming from just ahead. Russet Fur led them up a short slope and through a barrier of bushes that grew along the top. "Wait here," she ordered. She headed down a shallower slope into a wide hollow, while Toadfoot stayed on guard, glaring through narrowed eyes from a couple tail lengths away. "Is this the Shadow Clan camp?" Lionpaw whispered to Brambleclaw. "It looks so open." "We're lucky to have the hollow to shelter us," Brambleclaw replied. When he looked closer, Lionpaw began to see that this was a clan camp very like his own, even though it looked so different. Russet Fur had vanished into a gap behind a huge boulder, which he guessed was the clan leader's den. Not far away from it was a straggling bramble thicket that was probably the apprentice's den, and there was a dead log just outside it, thickly scored with scratch marks, which would be the place where the apprentices sharpened their claws. He startled at a yowl from a yew bush on the slope just below him. "That moss is dripping wet! I'll scratch that apprentice when I catch him!" "The Elder's Den," Lionpaw muttered to his father. "Guess they're just the same everywhere." He was distracted from his study of the camp by the reappearance of Russet Fur. Blackstar followed her out of the gap behind the boulder and leaped onto a tree stump in the middle of the hollow. Russet Fur gestured to Toadfoot with her tail, and the brown Tom escorted Brambleclaw and Lionpaw down the slope until they stood in front of the Shadow Clan leader. Lionpaw felt curious stares from the Shadow Clan warriors scorch his pelt, and heard the cats muttering to one another. They didn't sound friendly. He had seen Blackstar before the gatherings, but he had never been so close to him. Swallowing nervously, he realized that the White Tom was a very powerful warrior. One swat from those huge black paws could shred a cat's ear. He wondered what Brambleclaw would do if Blackstar attacked him. Was he strong and skillful enough to fight off and escape from the rival clan's territory? But for the moment, Blackstar seemed calm, if not exactly welcoming. "Brambleclaw," he meowed, "what are you doing in our territory?" "I've come to speak to my sister, Tawny Pelt." "What if she doesn't want to speak to you?" Russet Fur's tone was sharp. Blackstar raised his tail, warning his deputy to be quiet. "What do you want with her?" Lionpaw's belly churned as Brambleclaw told the Shadow Clan cats about the appearance of Talon and Night and the trouble that had come upon the tribe of Rushing Water. Firestar had agreed to let me and Squirrelflight go back to the mountains to help the tribe cats, he finished. "We thought we should invite Tawny Pelt and Crowfeather to come too. They know the tribe well from the first journey we made together." "What?" Russet Fur exclaimed before Blackstar could respond. "You dare to come here and expect to take one of our warriors away? Of course Tawny Pelt's not going. She has kits for StarClan's sake." Once again, Blackstar gestured with his tail. You'll make these ThunderClan cats think we don't want to cooperate," he told her. "Suppose we ask Tawny Pelt what she wants to do. It's her decision." Lionpaw flashed a glance at his father, but Brambleclaw avoided his gaze. It was clear that Blackstar expected Tawny Pelt would decide to stay with her clanmates and her kits. Blackstar leaped down from the stump and led the way across the camp to a bramble thicket on the far side. "This is our nursery," he meowed. "Go in and see her." Why would they ask Tawny Pelt when she's literally still in the nursery with her kits? Hello? Brambleclaw nodded in thanks and lowered his head to creep through the narrow entrance. Lionpaw followed. To his relief, Blackstar remained outside. ShadowClan's nursery was bigger than the one in the stone hollow, but it had the same cozy covering of moss on the floor and the same warm, milky scent. As Lionpaw's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he made out the glimmering shape of a white queen with a huge, swollen belly, curled in a mossy nest. Her ears pricked anxiously at the two ThunderClan cats entered. Brambleclaw! Wait, how did I do her voice? Oh, it was very similar to J-Paw's. Brambleclaw! The exclamation came from further inside the nursery. Lionpaw spotted Tawny Pelt, her head raised and eyes narrowed. What are you doing here? We came to see you, Brambleclaw replied. I've got something to ask you. Before he could say any more, Tawny Pelt's kits scrambled out of their nest and bounced over to Brambleclaw and Lionpaw. Who are you? The biggest kit, a tiger-striped Tom, stretched up until his whiskers tickled Lionpaw's nose. Lionpaw edged back, stifling a sneeze. My name is Lionpaw. I'm an apprentice from... His father gave him a warning nudge. We're ThunderClan cats, he replied. Oh, that's why you smell all yucky. A Tom with dark ginger fur wrinkled his nose. Not as half as yucky as you do. The third kit, a gray she-cat, bounded up to Lionpaw and flung herself at him. He was so surprised that he lost his balance and landed on his side in the moss. We're the best fighters, the gray kit yowled. Come on, let's defend the camp. Instantly, the other two kits bundled on top of Lionpaw. For a heartbeat, he wondered if ShadowClan was so hostile that even the kits tried to drive out intruders. Then he realized it was only a game. The kits' claws were sheathed, and their eyes gleamed with mischief, not anger. He fought back, pushing the kits off and managing to get his paws again, spitting out moss. That's no way to welcome a visitor, Tawny Pelt scolded them. Brambleclaw, these are my kits. The striped one is Tiger Kit, the ginger kit is Flame Kit, and the one who's asking for a cuff around the ear is Dawn Kit. She glared at the she-cat, who was creeping up on Lionpaw's tail as if it were a piece of prey. Tiger Kit! Lionpaw stiffened. Did Tawny Pelt hope that her son would become a great warrior as Tiger Star? Would this kit receive the same training from their ancestors as Lionpaw did? Kits! Tawny Pelt warned her litter to behave. Come over here, Brambleclaw, and tell me what this is all about. Absorbed in trying to keep his tail out of reach of Dawn Kit, who clearly hadn't listened to her mother's warning, Lionpaw didn't hear his father's explanation, but he stopped, fur tingling with excitement when he heard Tawny Pelt's mew, I will come. The tortoiseshell she-cat's eyes were shining as she clambered out of her nest. All three kits gave up chasing Lionpaw and stared at their mother. What do you mean? Tiger Kit asked. You're not gonna leave us, Dawn Kit wailed. I have to go with Brambleclaw for a while, Tawny Pelt told them. You remembered the stories I told you about the cats who lived in the mountains behind the wall of tumbling water? Well, those cats need my help, so I have to go. Then can we come with you? Flame Kit asked. Please? We'd be really helpful, Tiger Kit added. No, you're too young. Tawny Pelt patted over to the three kits and touched her nose to each one in turn. Be good, and eat your fresh kill. And expect me back when the moon has been the same shape twice. I'll keep an eye on them, the white she-cat promised from the shadows. Thanks, Snowbird. There, you see? What? How does ShadowClan have such a pretty named cat? Snowbird? That's so pretty. Snowbird would take care of you, and she'll tell me if you've been naughty. We won't, Tiger Kit promised. Even if we never get to have any fun, Dawn Kit muttered. Tawny Pelt gave her daughter a gentle flick over the ear with her tail. Goodbye then, she purred. Goodbye, the kits chorused, their eyes wide. Tawny Pelt led the way out of the nursery, with Brambleclaw hard on her paws. Lionpaw paused to look back at the kits. Goodbye, kin, he whispered to himself as he followed his father out into the clearing. Out of the nursery, Blackstar and Tawny Pelt were confronting each other. What do you mean, you want to go? The clan leader demanded. You said it was her decision, Brambleclaw reminded him. Blackstar lashed his tail but said nothing. We might have known, Russet First spat. It just goes to show that she's not loyal to ShadowClan. Tawny Pelt arched her back. Don't you dare call me disloyal. Tawny Pelt, The warrior called Rowan Claw padded beside Tawny Pelt and pressed his ginger muzzle against her shoulder. She leaned against him, her fur beginning to lie flat again. Lion Paw remembered that Rowan Claw was her mate, the father of her kits.
It's nonsense to say that Tawny Pelt isn't loyal, he meowed to Russet Fur. I haven't forgotten all the tribe cats did for us, even if you have. They deserve our help.
Aw, Rowan Claw. He bent his head to give Tawny Pelt a gentle lick between the ears.
I'm proud of you for going, he mewed, and don't worry about the kits. I'll look after them.
What a good boyfriend. Tawny Pelt let out a soft purr. Thanks, Rowan Claw. Turning to Brambleclaw, she meowed more briskly. Shall we go? Lionpaw thought his father looked stunned, as if he hadn't expected to get her to agree so easily. There's no time to lose, Tawny Pelt pointed out, not when we still have to make the long journey to the mountains. True, Brambleclaw murmured. Thank you, Black Star, he added to the Shadow Clan leader. I'm sure Star Clan will approve of what you've done today. Black Star nodded, looking awkward. Lionpaw knew very well that he hadn't intended things to turn out like this. Russet Fur just let out an annoyed hiss and turned away, lashing her tail. Excitement flooded through him once more as he raced back into the forest with Brambleclaw and Tawny Pelt. He felt sure that Squirrelflight and Hollypaw must have had the same success in Wind Clan. Yeah, right. Cats from all clans were uniting to help the tribe. This was even better than just going to visit the mountains. Maybe he would be part of another incredible story, and one day the clans would tell it to their kits, just as they had told the story of the Great Journey. Yeah, okay. Crowfeather isn't like that. I mean, he might be. I actually can't remember if he agrees to go or not. So we'll find out together. Chapter 12. Hollypaw stood on the bank of the stream that formed the border with Wind Clan, not far from the stepping stones. Wind from the moors licked her fur to her sides, bringing the scent of cats and rabbits and the tough moorland grass. Beside her, Squirrelflight waited, the tip of her tail twitching. Hollypaw could understand why her mother was uneasy. The Wind Clan border was still a sensitive area after all the trouble when the Wind Clan kits went missing. Her thoughts fled back to the tunnels and the surging underground river. She and the other apprentices had barely made it out alive with the kits. Hollypaw hoped that the tunnels would stay hidden for a long time, so there would be no more chance of misunderstandings. They're coming! Squirrelflight was tasting the air. A couple of heartbeats later, a Wind Clan patrol appeared over the brow of the hill and headed towards them. Tornir, Whitetail, and Breezepaw. Hollypaw's belly began to churn as the apprentice charged towards her, streaking past his clanmates. His pelt bristled. He was obviously ready for a border skirmish. But his stride faltered when he recognized Hollypaw. Huh? Oh, it's you, he muttered, coming to a halt on the opposite side of the stream. That's right. Hollypaw couldn't forget what a pain he'd been in the tunnels, complaining and arguing the whole time. I just can't keep away. She flinched as Squirrelflight flicked her ear with her tail. Breezepaw, Whitetail called as she and Tornir caught up to the apprentice. Come away from there. Breezepaw bared his teeth in the beginning of a snarl, then lowered his head and padded away, muttering something under his breath. Why are you here? Tornir asked. His voice was cool, but not hostile. We need to speak to Crowfeather, Squirrelflight explained. Both Tornir and Whitetail bristled, their neck fur fluffing up as they exchanged suspicious glances. It's about the journey we made to the Sundrown place, Squirrelflight added quickly. That was a long time ago, Tornir growled. Crowfeather's memory isn't that bad, Squirrelflight retorted tartly. He'll hardly have forgotten about it. Hollypaw couldn't understand why the Wind Clan cats had switched from reserve to hostility, or why her mother was being so sharp in return. Why should the Wind Clan cats be so tense when Crowfeather was mentioned? I can't just go and fetch Crowfeather, Whitetail meowed. You'll have to talk to One Star first. That's fine, I understand. Squirrelflight bounded lightly across the stepping stones and on into Wind Clan territory, giving Tornir a glare as she passed him. Hollypaw crossed more carefully, the swift-flowing stream bubbling past a mouse tail away from her paws. As she followed her mother and the Wind Clan warriors up the hill, Breezepaw hung back until he was padding beside her.
What are you doing here? He muttered into her ear. Have you come to spy on our camp?
Don't be ridiculous, Hollypaw replied. What would we want with your stupid camp? We need to speak to Crowfeather, that's all.
What about? Breezepaw demanded.
That's none of your business, Mousebrain.
Breezepaw's eyes narrowed in anger.
But he's my father, he began.
Breezepaw. Tornier glanced over his shoulder and flicked his tail to beckon the apprentice. Come here and walk beside me. Breezepaw let out a hiss of annoyance, but he quickened his pace and caught up to the senior warriors.
How's your training going, Breezepaw? Squirrelflight asked.
Not well. Whitetail didn't wait for her apprentice to reply. He led out a patrol of apprentices to see if the dogs had come back to the far corner of our territory, without asking permission, of course, and without even a single warrior for backup.
We were only trying to get yourselves killed, Tornier interrupted.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's exactly what had happened to Swiftpaw.
Oh my god.
Hollypaw had heard the stories of how dogs had killed Swiftpaw back in the forest, and she'd seen the terrible injuries they had given Brightheart. Breezepaw must be even more stupid than she thought if he imagined a few apprentices could take on a pack of dogs and survive. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Brightheart and Swiftpaw. They went on a patrol to, I think, maybe drive out the dogs or do something about the dogs. Prove that they could be warriors like the dogs. Or to, not like the dogs, but prove that they could be warriors by doing something about the dogs.
And then there was a fight you provoked with the Rivercloud Patrol. Tornier continued, his voice sharp with annoyance. They were not trespassing, they were not stealing prey, and One Star didn't appreciate having to apologize to Mistyfoot for the trouble you caused.
Oh.
He let out a long sigh and added to Squirrelflight, Breezepaw has many lessons to learn before he becomes a warrior. Breezepaw glared at the senior warriors as they turned away and muttered something Hollypaw didn't catch. Whitetail and Tornier led the way up a long slope to a briar of gorse bushes. Hollypaw followed as they pushed their way through, feeling the thorns snag on her pelt. On the other side, she found herself looking out over the WindClan camp. A steep slope led down into a natural dip, dotted with gorse and bramble. Blinking, Hollypaw tried to guess the layout. The camp was more exposed than she was used to, though towards the bottom of the dip there were hollows where cats could shelter. She tasted the air, trying to work out from the scents where each group of cats lived. A pungent smell of mouse bile was coming from a deep hole that looked like an abandoned badger set. That must be the Elder's Den. They're always needing mouse bile to get rid of their ticks. From a crack in a huge boulder, she picked up the aromatic scent of herbs and realized that must be Barkface's den. And warm, milky scents came from a gorse thicket. That would be the nursery. Go and take some fresh kill to the elders, Whitetail ordered Breezepaw, interrupting Hollypaw's thoughts. Waving her tail to Squirrelflight, she added, Follow me. We'll see if One Star is in his den. Hollypaw bounded down the slope behind her mother, while Whitetail raced ahead. But before the ThunderClan cats reached the bottom of the hollow, Crowfeather appeared from the bushes at the other side, a rabbit dangling from his jaws. He spotted the visitors, froze for a heartbeat, then ran lightly down to deposit his prey on the fresh kill pile. As Squirrelflight padded up to him, he turned to face her, his gray-black fur bristling. What are you doing here? He demanded. Something wrong? No, Squirrelflight replied, while Hollypaw wondered what was bothering Crowfeather. Did he have ants in his pelt? At least, yes. But not with the clans. Thank you for the lurk, Phil. Squirrelflight seemed to have gotten herself into a tangle, so Hollypaw stepped forward. The tribe of Rushing Water needs our help, she explained. The cats who went to the Sundrown place must go to the mountains. Crowfeather looked surprised, and Hollypaw thought maybe she had been too outspoken. And they want apprentices to come too, do they? He growled. Squirrelflight gave his shoulder an affectionate lick with her tail. Flick! With her tail. Crowfeather, neither of us can complain about apprentices making the journey. When Crowfeather didn't respond, she went on. Talon and Knight, do you remember them? Came to our camp to fetch Stormfur Brook. The tribe is being threatened by a group of invading cats who are trying to take over its hunting grounds. Brambleclaw and I, thought we would go and help too. Crowfeather paused before replying. Hollypaw couldn't read anything from his expression. What has that got to do with us? He asked eventually. They helped us on the great journey, Squirrelflight mewed. And Feathertail died for them, Crowfeather spat, his blue eyes blazing. We owe them nothing. Feathertail had been a River Clan cat, Stormfur's sister, who had died on their first journey. None of the other cats seemed to think her death was a reason not to help the tribe now. Why should Crowfeather take it so personally? Feathertail hadn't even been his clanmate. She doesn't know he was madly in love with her. Feathertail was willing to help the tribe before, Squirrelflight replied calmly. She would help them again. It wasn't the tribe's fault she died. You can blame the Sharptooth for that. A shiver ran through Hollypaw, and she dug her claws hard into the tough moorland grass. Squirrelflight was talking so matter-of-factly about stories Hollypaw had heard since she was in the nursery. It was as if her mother and father belonged in a legend. Crowfeather too, though it was hard for Hollypaw to reconcile the brave warrior, StarClan's chosen, with the suspicious, bad-tempered, skinny cat who stood in front of her. No wonder Breezepaw's so grumpy. He got it from his father. Squirrelflight, greetings. Hollypaw whirled to see Whitetail returning with One Star and Ashfoot, the WindClan deputy. It was One Star who had spoken. He padded up to Squirrelflight with his head and tail held high. Greetings, One Star. Squirrelflight dipped her head. You're welcome to our camp. The WindClan leader sounded friendly, though there was surprise in his amber eyes. What can we do for you? Squirrelflight launched into a more detailed explanation of how the tribe cats had come to ThunderClan looking for help. Crowfeather listened with the same disgruntled expression, while the other WindClan cats gathered around. Hollypaw spotted Heatherpaw and gave her a nod. Breezepaw had reappeared too, standing beside his fellow apprentice. So, BrambleClaw and I thought that all the cats who went on the first journey should go now and help the tribe, Squirrelflight finished. BrambleClaw has gone to tell ShadowClan to speak to Tawnypelt, and I came here to tell Crowfeather. One Star narrowed his eyes. He would be away for a long time, perhaps a moon or more. And I have an apprentice, Crowfeather reminded him. True. All the same, I think you should go. One Star meowed. The tribe of Rushing Water gave us food and shelter on the great journey. Without their help, many cats would have died, and we might never have found this home by the lake. Besides, he went on, ignoring Crowfeather as he tried to interrupt, the mountain cats were kind to Tallstar when he was on his last life. We would honor him by helping them now. Crowfeather looked taken aback. But what about Heatherpaw's training? Whitetail can take over as her mentor, One Star decided. She will be without an apprentice, since I think it would be a good idea if Breezepaw went along with you. Oh, snap! Oh, no, Hollypaw thought. You might be fed up with him, but we don't want him either, thanks. Oh my god, he's sending Breezepaw away like he's a delinquent kid. Like, maybe you need some experience away from the clan life. A little bit, Breezepaw. Maybe that'll, like, shake some sense into you on how to behave. See. What? Breezepaw exclaimed, his eyes stretched wide with dismay. You're so lucky, Heatherpaw put in with a sigh of envy. I'd give my tail to go. Well, I don't want to. Don't worry, you'll be coming back, Hollypaw snapped. How do you know that? Breezepaw's ears flattened and his tail drooped. I think my clanmates just want to get rid of me. Aww! Poor him! He sounded so miserable that Hollypaw felt a rush of pity for him. He doesn't... No, Breezepaw, no! I take it back, Breezepaw. I'm sorry, Breezepaw. You just have a little bit of attitude. It's okay. We like you. We like you, Breezepaw. But it lasted no more than a couple of heartbeats. Breezepaw had broken the warrior code twice in the last moon. It was time he was taking down a tree branch or two. Crowfeather padded forward a couple of paces to stand beside Squirrelflight. It is my choice if I go, he meowed. With a glance at One Star, Hollypaw wondered if he was defying his leader, but One Star didn't rise to the challenge. And I will go. I would like to stand it again in the place where Feathertail lies. What about Breezepaw? Squirrelflight asked. Crowfeather sighed. Yes, I suppose he must come too, if One Star orders it. Breezepaw shot his father a sulky look and started tearing up the grass with his claws. Hollypaw thought of her own mother and father. She was glad they supported her when she wanted to try new things. It didn't look as if Crowfeather and Breezepaw got along at all. And I can understand that, sort of, she thought. Now that I've seen Crowfeather a few times, he's just weird. Do you want Crowfeather and Breezepaw to come with you now? One Star asked. Yes, please, Squirrelflight replied. We thought we would all stay in the ThunderClan camp tonight and set off in the morning. Leafpool is preparing traveling herbs. I want to say goodbye to my friends first, Breezepaw objected. There isn't time, Crowfeather snapped. Aww. I'll say goodbye for you. Heatherpaw darted forward and touched her nose to Breezepaw's shoulder. And don't worry, you'll have some amazing stories to tell us when you come back. Breezepaw didn't look as if the idea cheered him up. A black she-cat emerged from the group of WindClan cats. Hollypaw recognized Crowfeather's mate, Nightcloud. She brushed her pelt against Crowfeather's. Take care, she meowed. Crowfeather gave her ear a quick lick, but Hollypaw noticed that his eyes were gazing into the distance. Dang, Crowfeather. Squirrelflight dipped her head to One Star and thanked him. Then Crowfeather led the way up the slope and out of the WindClan camp. As they trekked across the moor, he still looked sour, and Breezepaw sulked all the way, refusing to talk to Hollypaw even when she tried to be friendly. I don't think this journey is going to be much fun after all, Hollypaw thought gloomily. Aw, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Breezepaw so much. He has, like, Crowfeather as a dad who's, like, partially, like, never gotten over Feathertail's death and then fell in love with Leafpool and then he was willing to 100% to leave WindClan with Leafpool and live a life with her away from the clans. That's how much he wanted to be with her. And then when Leafpool was like, no, actually, we should probably go back. And he reluctantly went back to WindClan and he found a mate. It seems like he's not really into the mate. Like, it almost seems like Nightcloud was the first cat that showed interest in him in his own clan. And then he just ran with it. And so poor Breezepaw is like this child of daddy issues, you know? He's like the encompass of daddy issues. No, and he doesn't even, it seems like he doesn't understand, like he doesn't know the story about Leafpool, right? Like, why would anybody tell him about that? And he probably doesn't know much about Feathertail either, unless Crowfeather actually did talk about that, but that would have been messed up, you know? Like especially to Breezepaw, who seems so, like, edgy, like, you know, like amped up all the time, to, like, have Crowfeather be sensitive enough to talk about his past lover from another clan, no less. I don't think he ever told Breezepaw. He would have to have heard it from somebody else, and I also don't think anyone would have told Breezepaw how close Feathertail and Crowfeather were. Because I think, I guess he does have the name that's named after her, but then again, like, it could have just been a random name, right? It didn't have to have been, like, him being named after Feathertail. Wild. Wild, wild, wild. Let me read something. Sammy. Whoa. You pick.
deciding what to eat out tonight.
If Mary Brown... But only if you want a Big Mary Sammy. I'm not really a Sammy kind of gal. Do they have any other... Buy one, get one? Big Mary. Mary Brown Big Mary sandwich. Let's see. No thanks, no thanks. Can I just look at your menu? Okay. Combos. Yes. Ooh, grilled chicken. I don't want the grilled chicken one. Signature kitchen. 2-piece meal. Combo. Big Mary original. Oh, okay.
That's good, actually.
Is it no combo or combo?
Yeah. Combo, combo, combo. Combo, combo, combo.
I love free food.
Sound good. Maybe a soda pop.
Barks.
A drink.
Drink to drink.
Ding dong.
All right, back to the
cats. Back to the meow meows.
Chapter 13. J-Paw shivered in the dawn chill. The sharp scent of the traveling herbs wreathed around him, almost masking the scent of leaf pool as she worked beside him in the medicine cat's den. Stifling a yawn, he thought back to his dreams of the night before, full of strange scents, jagged rocks and unfamiliar cats, and the screech of warriors meeting in battle. He had lost count of the number of times he had jerked awake, his heart pounding until he realized that he was curled up in his own nest of ferns. Nothing in the dreams made any sense to him, and he flicked his tail impatiently. What's the point of dreaming if I don't learn anything? Soft sounds filtered through the bramble screen as the cats in the clearing began to wake up. J-Paw couldn't remember the hollow ever being so full, with the Wind Clan and Shadow Clan cats, as well as the visitors from the tribe. It was just as well the night had been warm enough for some of them to sleep out in the open. The Wind Clan cats especially were used to that. J-Paw's claws slid out as he remembered his dismay when he discovered that Breezepaw had come along with his father. I can't stand that ignorant, arrogant, mange-ridden excuse for a cat. He would never forget how useless Breezepaw had been when they were trapped underground. It was no wonder that the tunnels had been sealed up, so J-Paw couldn't reach rock and fallen leaves anymore. What could you expect when Breezepaw hadn't shown any sense of respect? J-Paw, what are you daydreaming about? Leafpool's voice broke into J-Paw's thoughts. You can start taking these herbs out to the cats who are leaving. Don't you want to do that? J-Paw was surprised. The tribe cats would probably want a medicine cat to explain to them what they were eating. No. Leafpool sounded agitated. Oh, she's avoiding Crow Feather. I forgot. I've got to check these herbs one more time. Rubbish, J-Paw thought. It doesn't take all this fuss to make up a few traveling herbs. But he just picked up the first portion of herbs and patted out into the clearing. The scent of herbs in his jaw made it hard to locate the cats, but after a couple of heartbeats, he pinpointed a group of them just outside the warrior's den. Crowfeather, Breezepaw, Squirrelflight, and Tawny Pelt. J-Paw padded up to them and dropped the herbs at Crowfeather's paws. Traveling herbs, he mewed. Thank you. There was a tension about Crowfeather that J-Paw didn't understand. It felt more like the natural anticipation of the journey. Who knows what goes on in the minds of these weird WindClan cats? Returning to his den, he was tempted by the thought of sneaking something disgusting into Breezepaw's traveling herbs. A few yarrow leaves, maybe. The first part of the journey would be around the lake on WindClan territory. If Breezepaw started to be sick, they would have to leave him behind. Or maybe he'd just delay the rest of us. J-Paw considered the punishment he'd receive if any cat found out what he'd done. He'd be made to stay at home for sure. The risk wasn't worth it. He went on dividing up the herbs. Soon the tribe cats appeared with Stormfur and Brook and joined the others by the warrior's den. What's this? Talon queried, while J-Paw put down his share of the herbs. Traveling herbs, J-Paw replied. They'll make you stronger, and you won't feel so hungry. Are you sure? J-Paw pictured the cave guard prodding the herbs suspiciously with one paw. I've never heard of anything like that. Stormteller never heard of them either, Knight agreed. J-Paw heard her sniffing the little pile of leaves. For StarClan's sake, he snapped. Just eat them. We're not trying to poison you. They're okay, Stormfur meowed. J-Paw felt the gray warrior's tail flick lightly across his muzzle. They'll make the journey a lot easier. If you're sure. Talon's voice was still dubious, but he licked up the herbs. They taste bitter, he complained. Stifling a sigh, J-Paw carried on until he'd taken herbs to every cat except his father. Where's Brambleclaw? He asked Squirrelflight, mumbling around his mouthful of herbs. I think he went to talk to Firestar, Squirrelflight replied. I'll take those up to him if you like. No, I'll do it. J-Paw's fur bristled as he bounded across the camp. I can climb up to the high ledge without falling. He scrambled up the tumbling stones, making sure that his pelt brushed the cliff wall at every paw step. As he reached the high ledge, he heard Firestar's voice from inside the den. You'll be away for at least a moon, Brambleclaw. We need to decide who should be deputy while you're gone. J-Paw halted outside the den, drawing close against the rock wall so that the cats inside wouldn't see him. Graystripe is the obvious cat to choose, Brambleclaw answered. He knows the deputy duties, after all. J-Paw's whiskers twitched in dismay. His father had only become clan deputy because every cat thought that Graystripe was dead. After the Grey Warrior's unexpected return, some cats had thought that Brambleclaw would step down. Graystripe hadn't wanted that. He said he didn't have enough experience of the clan's new home, and he was tired from after his journey. But none of that was true anymore. If Graystripe took over as deputy now, what would happen when Brambleclaw came home? J-Paw gritted his teeth. Couldn't his father see that he might be giving up his position in the clan? Fine, if you're happy with that. Firestar sounded relieved. I'll tell him. There was movement inside the den as if the cats were rising to their paws. Quickly, J-Paw found a loose pebble and flicked it with his paw so they would think that he had just arrived. Stepping into the mouth of the den, he meowed. Firestar? Come in, his leader responded. Are those my traveling herbs? Brambleclaw asked. Thanks, J-Paw. Is every cat ready? Nearly. J-Paw replied. I'd better find Leafpool and see if she wants me to do anything else. He withdrew from the den with a quick dip of his head. As he hurried down the rocks again, he tried to scent Lionpaw and Hollypaw. He wanted to tell them about Graystripe taking over as deputy while they could still talk in private. But as he reached the floor of the clearing, his littermates passed him with fresh kill in their jaws, headed for the Elder's den. Hollypaw called out, Hi, J-Paw! As they went by, but they were too busy to stop. Frustrated, J-Paw went back to his own den. Leafpool was still there, fiddling with some leaves, though all the traveling herbs had been distributed now, except for J-Paw's own. What are you doing? He asked. Do you want me to take some herbs with me? What? Leafpool sounded surprised, as if she hadn't realized that he had come back. Oh, no. There's no point in doing that. They'd be a nuisance to carry every day, and you don't know what you'll need. But I have no idea which herbs grow in the mountains, J-Paw objected. Leafpool scraped the ground with one paw. She was trying to hide it, but J-Paw could feel she was on edge for some reason. You won't be in the mountains for most of the way, she told him, and when you get to the tribes, Stoneteller will be able to show you the mountain herbs. You'll learn a lot from him. I hope so, not just about herbs. Come on, J-Paw, don't just stand there. Eat your own herbs. J-Paw felt his mentor push as he pushed. J-Paw felt his mentor's paw brush his as she pushed the remaining herbs towards him. Brambleclaw will want to leave soon. J-Paw licked up the mouthful of herbs. Yuck, he muttered. You'll be glad of them once you get going, Leafpool meowed sharply. You're lucky to be going on this journey at all. Lucky because I'm blind and shouldn't be allowed to go? J-Paw thought mutinously. He said nothing, trying to swallow the last of the bitter leaves. You'll find the mountains fascinating, Leafpool went on, sounding more like her normal self. You should take the chance to learn all you can about them. That's just what I mean to do, J-Paw told himself, though he suspected he meant something different from what his mentor was suggesting. Oh, he would learn about new herbs and new ways of living, but what he really wanted to learn was how the tribe came to settle in the mountains, how they were connected to rock and the ancient cats who had left their paw prints around the moon pool. But he knew better than to say any of that to Leafpool. J-Paw! Brambleclaw's voice came from the clearing. Are you ready? Coming! J-Paw called back. He whisked around at the bramble screen and turned back to ask Leafpool, Aren't you gonna come say goodbye? Leafpool let out a long sigh. Tension was crackling off her like a storm in Greenleaf. I've said it already, she murmured. Okay, goodbye then. J-Paw knew he should leave, but something held his paws back. He found Leafpool incredibly annoying when she fussed, but he couldn't ignore her feelings of misery, even if he didn't understand them. He darted across to her and buried his nose in the fur of her shoulder. Aww. Goodbye. I'll have lots to tell you when I get back. Goodbye, J-Paw. Leafpool's voice quivered. He felt her tongue rasp over his ear. Take care. J-Paw! Brambleclaw's voice came again from the clearing. Gotta go. J-Paw meowed, dashing out past the brambles with a sigh of relief to be away from Leafpool's strange intensity. As he emerged, he smelled Squirrelflight's scent and felt her pelt brush his as she slipped into the medicine den to talk to her sister. I hope she knows what's going on because I sure don't, J-Paw thought. The cats who were leaving had gathered together in the middle of the stone hollow. J-Paw found Hollypaw and Lionpaw and bounded over to stand beside them. What kept you? Hollypaw asked. We're all waiting. I'm here now, J-Paw retorted, and I've got stuff to tell you too. The chilly air of dawn had vanished as the sun rose. J-Paw could feel the beams slicing down through the trees, falling across his pelt. It was a perfect morning to travel, cool and clear with warm sunshine later on. He heard rustling from the warrior's den as several of his cladmates Where was I? Hi, Darn! Oh, there was a rapid patter of paws from the apprentice den, and J-Paw heard Icepaw mew. It's not fair! I want to go too! Maybe your turn will come in another time, Whitewing told her kindly. The sound of a huge yawn came close to J-Paw's ear, and Cloudtail's scent wafted over him. Why don't you get moving, he mumbled. Then every cat can get a bit more sleep. No chance! Dustpelt spoke sharply nearby. You're coming with me and Sandstorm on the dawn patrol. Mouse dung, Cloudtail muttered. J-Paw picked up Firestar's scent and heard his paw steps as he padded across to join the traveling cats. Graystripe was just behind him. J-Paw could picture the Grey Warrior standing at his leader's shoulder with the glow in his amber eyes. As if he's deputy already. Farewell, all of you, Firestar meowed. May StarClan light your path, and may you all come home safe. A sudden tension sprang up between the departing cats, as if the clan warriors and tribe cats were facing one another, gathering their courage for the first paw steps of their journey. Squirrelflight had returned, slipping up to Brambleclaw's side. Ready? Brambleclaw asked. Yes, ready. Stormfur replied. J-Paw stood still and let all the scents and sounds of the stone hollow, the herbs from the den he had just left, the milky scents of the nursery and the dusty smell of the ground, the voices of his clanmates and the rustle of wind in the trees, soak into his pelt. What if I never come back? StarClan would have warned me, wouldn't it? Wouldn't they? Isn't that something they do? Tell cats they're gonna die? J-Paw! Hollypaw's voice sounded from the thorn tunnel. Wake up! Every cat's leaving! J-Paw jumped, dashing across the clearing. He followed his sister into the tunnel and out into the forest.
Chapter 14. Now a verse from our collective tale. In the chat where whispers lurk, Lord Phil's gone to the back, a silent clerk. Snigglefritz notes the space they lack. Way back there, they say, with a painful quack. What? Juice chimes in, their empathy on track. Poor guy, they sigh, no turning back. Echoing woes with virtual pat on the back. Wow, they exclaim. Yeah, poor child. What? Snigglefritz, that wasn't your best poem. I think it could have been a lot better. Chapter 14. Chapter 14. I have like crumbs of some pretzels. Let me eat them. Oh. Go fish, go fish, go fish, go fish, fish, go fish, go fish, go fish, go fish, fish. Go fish, go fish, go fish. Whoa! A tiger shark. Nice. That's me if I were a shark. Okay. J-Paw could feel dappled sunlight and shade on his pelt as he padded beneath the trees. Lionpaw flanked him on one side, while Hollypaw bounded ahead for a few paw steps, then returned to join her littermates. The air was full of birdsong and the rustling of leaves, and the scents of prey were sharp in the undergrowth. The three apprentices brought up the rear of the group of traveling cats. Brambleclaw had taken the lead, with Stormfur and Brook closely followed by Talon and Knight. Just ahead of J-Paw, he could sense Squirrelflight and Tawnypelt. And Tiger Kid has already learned the hunter's crouch. Tawnypelt was meowing, but I think Dawn-Kit will be the best fighter. If only she listens to what her mentor tells her when she's apprenticed. Right now she doesn't listen to any cat. All kits can be deaf when they choose, Squirrelflight told her. They'll grow into fine warriors. You'll see. Kits! J-Paw thought. Boring! He angled his ears, trying to pick up more interesting snippets of conversations, but all he could hear was Crowfeather telling Breezepaw about the best way to catch prey in the mountains. The two WindClan cats were padding side by side, a few tail lengths from the rest. J-Paw could feel Breezepaw's resentment at being forced to come on the journey. I don't think he and his father even like each other, J-Paw decided. Dang. Hey, look! Lionpaw exclaimed. Bet you I can catch that butterfly. Bet you can't, Hollypaw returned. Just watch. Hollypaw took off in an enormous leap, then crashed back to the forest floor. Missed it, Hollypaw let out a meow of laughter. Told ya. J-Paw heard heavier paw steps in the break-in, and his mother's scent drifted over him. Just what do you think you three are doing? She scolded them. Are you kids let out of camp for the first time? This is a serious journey. You need to save your strength. You'll need it later. Sorry, Lionpaw muttered. J-Paw drew his lips back in the beginning of a snarl as he imagined Breezepaw's smug expression. He knew the WindClan apprentice was listening. If he says one word, I'll claw his ear off. But Breezepaw had the sense to keep his jaws shut. Soon J-Paw began to pick up the clean scent of water. Stronger sunlight on his pelt told him they had left the shelter of the trees. He realized they had emerged beside the lake, and for a moment his paws itched to search for the stick with the marks Rock had made, but he couldn't carry the stick all the way to the mountains. I'll have to leave it behind, but I'm not leaving you behind, Rock. When I get to the mountains, I know I'll find you there. We're near the WindClan border, Hollypaw whispered to his ear. We have to cross the stream. For a couple of heartbeats, J-Paw froze, remembering the smothering water in the tunnels. He hated getting his paws wet. Lionpaw butted him gently in the shoulder. It'll be okay. The water's really shallow. J-Paw bit back an indignant retort, though it was really himself he was angry with. Would he always have to fight this terror of drowning? He could hear splashing as the other cats crossed the stream, Hollypaw guiding him to the bank with her tail across his shoulders. J-Paw tensed when he felt the current swirling around his paws. The stream bed
shelved down until the water brushed his belly fur. He could feel Hollypaw and Linepaw close on either side. Linepaw muttered, this way a bit. There's a deeper place just there. Then the stream grew shallower again, and J-Paw could scramble up the bank on the other side. He halted a tail length away and shook himself to hide his tremors of relief. Hey, do you mind? Breezepaw's unfriendly voice came from just behind him. You're making my fur wet. Sorry, J-Paw muttered. The cats continued along the lakeshore, across WindClan territory and past the horse place. J-Paw could just pick up the scent of the horse place cats beneath the overwhelming scent of horse, but neither Smokey nor Floss appeared to greet them. He pricked his ears at distant barking and decided that the dog who lived near the horse place was too far away to be a nuisance. Once past the horse place, Brambleclaw led the way uphill. J-Paw's paws tingled as he realized he was setting them down on unfamiliar ground. This was the real beginning of the adventure. The scents of home were fading behind him, and a stiff breeze brought new scents to him, wild and strange. His paws faltered a bit. Stupid cat, he berated himself. This is what you wanted, isn't it? He felt his littermate's pelt touching his on either side, and sensed that they too were daunted by the unknown path that they had set where they had set their paws. The ground underfoot was growing wetter and more uneven. J-Paw brushed past a clump of reeds and heard a splash accompanied by a strong scent of frog. A moment later, one of his paws slipped on a tussock of wet grass and water surged over his hindquarters. Fox dung! He spat, clawing with his forepaws to heave himself out again. Are you okay? Linepaw asked. Fine. Linepaw spoke through gritted teeth. Just beyond his brother, he heard Talon murmur to Night. This is crazy. Taking a blind to-be all the way to the mountains. I know, Night replied. He'll never keep up. Oh my gosh. A sharp retort bubbled up inside his jaw, but before he could speak, he felt his mother's tail land firmly over his mouth. J-Paw will manage just fine, she meowed. He's good at tackling new territory as any cat. Have you never put a paw in the wrong place, Talon? She asked. When the big tribe tabby didn't reply, she moved her tail from J-Paw's mouth to his shoulder. Come this way. It's drier over here. J-Paw followed her, thankful to feel more solid ground beneath his paws. He was surprised that Breezepaw hadn't made some sarcastic comment about his misstep, but Breezepaw was a clan cat. Maybe he felt a kind of loyalty to support any clan cat against the tribe. Not that he stood up for me, J-Paw thought sourly. That would be too much to expect. Wind buffeted J-Paw in the face, telling him they had reached the top of the ridge. There were so many new scents that he couldn't begin to sort them all out. This is awesome! Hollypaw gasped. I can see the whole of the lake and all the territories from here. She bounced up to J-Paw and gave him a nudge with her head. Down there is a stream with trees growing all around it, where RiverClan has its camp, and beyond that is a dark pine forest. That's ShadowClan's territory. I can even see the Gathering Island and the tree bridge. It looks so tiny from up here. Over this way are the woods where we live. Linepaw joined J-Paw on his other side. I bet we could see the hollow if we were here in Leaf Bear. And then there's the open moorland where WindClan live. We can see everything. WindClan look at this all the time. Breezepaw had padded up behind him. Our territory has loads of great views. Annoying furball, J-Paw thought. Do you remember the first time we stood here? Oh. Yeah. J-Paw scented Brambleclaw a little ways away with Squirrelflight, Crowfeather, and Tawny Pelt. I'll never forget it, Squirrelflight replied. It was night, and all the cats of StarClan were reflected in the lake. I can't believe how brave you were, Night put in. You traveled so far to find a new home, without even knowing where you were going. StarClan helped us, Squirrelflight murmured. And the tribe of Endless Hunting would do the same for you, Tawny Pelt pointed out, if the tribe of Rushing Water ever had to leave the mountains. Leave? Night sounded alarmed. We could never leave, and nor could the spirits of our ancestors. We belong too much to the mountains. J-Paw wasn't sure she was right. If the clan cats failed to drive out the intruders, the tribe and the spirits of its ancestors might have to face a journey of their own.
Chapter 15.
Lionpaw stood beside his sister, gazing down at the lake and the familiar clan territories. A ripple of excitement pulsed through him as he turned his back on his home and saw, for the first time, a wide stretch of unknown country. "What are we waiting for?" he complained to Hollypaw. "Why can't we keep going?"
"Didn't you hear Brambleclaw?" his sister meowed. "He told us all to rest. He said that we could hunt if we want to eat."
Lionpaw had been so focused on their journey that he hadn't noticed his father giving the order. His forepaws tore up some short grass on the ridge. "I don't want to sit around. We've hardly started." "It's the traveling herbs giving you all that energy," Hollypaw mewed practically.
"The mountains won't go away."
She turned with a flick of her tail and began to stalk towards a gorse bush, her ears and whiskers alert for signs of prey. Lionpaw's paws were sore from the stiff climb up the ridge, but he had never felt so alive, so eager to keep traveling. In front of him, dark forest covered the downward slope, and beyond it, Lionpaw could see flat green stretches like grass at the horse place. It was sliced through by thunderpaths and dotted with two-legs nests, some of them close together, whole clusters of red stone dens. Lionpaw bounded over the short, springy grass to a rock outcrop, the highest part of the ridge. At the top of the rocks, wind flattened his fur along his sides. He felt as powerful as a warrior of Lion Clan. If he stretched out a paw, he could blot out the whole two-legged nests. The biggest thunderpath looked as thin as a strand of bramble or a twig that he could snap with his teeth. "I could run further than a hare. I could fight the fiercest fox that ever lived." Spotting the dark gray stain that hovered on the horizon, he added, "I could climb the highest mountain faster than an eagle could fly." He wondered if the other cats felt like this. When he looked down at his traveling companions dozing peacefully below him, he suspected they didn't. Lionpaw strained his ears to pick up Tigerstar's voice in the sighing of the wind and looked for the dark tabby shape in the shadows by the rocks and bushes. This was exactly how Tigerstar had told him he should feel, as if his enemies were no bigger than beetles. But there was no trace of the former warrior. All those turbulent feelings seemed to come from inside Lionpaw himself. "Lionpaw, we're waiting for you." His father's voice made him jump. The other cats had finished resting and were getting up to their paws.
"Coming!"
he called. He leaped down from the outcrop and joined his littermates as the cats began to make their way into the trees. His father and mother took the lead with Tawny Pelt and Crowfeather. "Remember how we felt when we first climbed up here?" Tawny Pelt meowed. "I remember how sore my paws were," Squirrelflight replied with a twitch of her tail. Brambleclaw skirted a huge clump of bracken. "Tall Poppy's kits fell over here. Ferncloud picked her up and carried her. We helped one another then. But it can't be like that anymore." Lionpaw thought Crowfeather sounded wistful, the familiar edge missing from his voice. It's natural for clans to be rivals. Lionpaw thought sadly about Heatherpaw. He guessed that all four of the senior warriors missed the friendships that they had forged on their journeys. He was relieved they seemed to know their way. Now that he couldn't see his home anymore, he was daunted by the vast stretches of unknown territory. His pelt grew hot with embarrassment when he remembered his dreams of power on the hilltop, and he was thankful that no other cat knew about what he'd been thinking. Unless J-Paw knows. Lionpaw's pelt grew hotter still at the idea that his brother might have been eavesdropping on his thoughts. "Come on, pick up your paws," Brightclaw called back. Brightclaw? Brambleclaw called back. "I want to be out of these trees by nightfall." Lionpaw stifled a sigh. His paws were dragging already, and his belly was yowling with hunger. The energy from the traveling herbs seems to have worn off. He wished he'd taken the chance to rest and eat after all. "Here." Squirrelflight's voice was muffled. Lionpaw glanced back to see her padding up to him with a mouse hanging from her jaws. "Eat as quickly as you can," she added, dropping her prey at his paws. "Thank you." Lionpaw touched his nose gratefully to his mother's shoulder. "I was tired of listening to your belly growl," Squirrelflight mewed, her tail curling up in amusement. "I reckon they could hear it back in ThunderClan." She ran ahead to join Brambleclaw, while Lionpaw crouched over the mouse and devoured it in a few famished bites. By the time he had finished, his companions were out of sight, but he could hear their voices ahead and follow their scent trail until he caught up. Strength had flooded back into his paws. Passing the rest of the group, he bounded up to his father. What do you know about these invading cats? Brambleclaw was asking Talon. How many are there? Too many, Talon replied. Brambleclaw twitched his ears. Lionpaw guessed that he didn't find the tribe cat's answer much use in planning what they would do when they reached the mountains. Well, what have you done so far? Brambleclaw went on. Have you worked out ways of hunting and fighting? What about your regular patrols? We're not clan cats, you know. Talon's neck fur bristled. We need help, but that doesn't mean we want to be treated like a bunch of tubies. Calm down, Talon. Night touched her tribe mate's shoulder with the tip of her tail. Brambleclaw's only trying to work out the best way of helping us. For a heartbeat, Linepaw thought that the tabby cave guard would snarl at her too. But then his fur lay flat again, and he gave Brambleclaw an awkward nod as if he was trying to apologize. We've never needed to set boundaries before, he explained. We just choose some rocks around our cave and set guards to keep watch for intruders, Stoneteller said. Growing bored of this talk of strategy, Lionpaw let his father and the others go ahead and waited for his litter mates to catch up. The tribe cats seem really tense, he meowed as he fell in beside Hollypaw. I thought Talon was going to claw Brambleclaw's ear off. Hollypaw blinked thoughtfully. I think it's because they never told Stoneteller what they planned to do. He might be angry when a bunch of clan cats turn up in his territory. Angry? Lionpaw's pelt grew hot with outrage. He should be grateful to us. His sister let out a snort. Maybe his pride would be hurt. Leaders ought to be able to deal with problems without asking for help from outside. How do you think Firestar would feel as if we were having trouble and you went to ask for help from WindClan? He would probably line his nest with my pelt, Linepaw admitted. So what would you do if you were Stoneteller? J-Paw's voice was curious as he flicked his sister's shoulder with his tail tip. Hollypaw paused for a few heartbeats before she replied, I'd set up border patrols. But they don't have borders, Linepaw reminded her. Then I'd mark some. Hollypaw's ears twitched. I'd make sure they were patrolled regularly and I'd teach all my cats to fight. That would keep the intruders out. J-Paw shook his head. You're thinking like a clan cat. The tribe's ways are different. I'm not sure we should try to change them. We should if they're being driven out of their territory and starved to death, Lionpaw argued. What the tribe needs is the warrior code, and we're going to teach it to them. The setting sun cast long shadows in front of them as they came to the edge of the trees. Lionpaw fluffed out his pelt against the breeze that whispered through the undergrowth. Ahead, he could see a stretch of dusty grass sloping down onto a narrow valley. More trees stretched up the far side, and beyond them hung the gray smudge of the mountains. Over to one side, Lionpaw spotted the reddish stone of two-leg nest just visible through the trees. We'll stop here for the night, Brambleclaw announced. It's sheltered, and there'll be plenty of prey. Before he had finished speaking, Crowfeather broke away from the group, streaking across the open ground with his belly fur brushing the grass. Breezepaw raced after him. Linepaw didn't spot the rabbit they were chasing until it broke for cover. The two WindClan cats separated, and as the rabbit dodged away from Crowfeather, it practically threw itself in Breezepaw's paw. The WindClan apprentice dispatched it with a swift bite of the neck. Great catch! Linepaw meowed as he came back dragging his prey. Breezepaw ignored him, but Crowfeather gave him a nod, and the two WindClan cats settled down to share their prey. Linepaw turned back into the woodland to find some prey of his own. Tasting the air, he found a mouse scrabbling among the debris at the edge of a bramble thicket. He leaped out with paws outstretched, but as he sank his claws into the little creature, he felt a tendril of bramble wrap itself around his shoulders. He pulled away, leaving a tuft of orange fur behind. His pelt prickled with embarrassment at the clumsy kill, and he padded back to the edge of the trees with his prey. He hoped that Breezepaw hadn't been watching. Hollypaw and J-Paw were already crouching in the shelter of a clump of bracken with their fresh kill. Hollypaw was devouring a plumful, while J-Paw gulped down a sparrow. I wish we could stay here a bit longer, Hollypaw mumbled with her mouth full. This place is crawling with prey. Well, we can't. J-Paw mewed unsympathetically, and I don't think some of us would be happy if we did. He flicked his tail towards Talon and Night, who had finished eating and were trying to settle down for the night between two gnarled tree roots. They were turning around uneasily, as if they couldn't get comfortable. Night stiffened as the hoot of an owl sounded from somewhere close by. What was that? Only an owl. Brooke padded up to her tribe mate and touched her nose to the back of the she-cat's shoulder. It's okay. Squirrelflight is going to keep watch, then Stormfur. Well, I don't like it, Talon grumbled, whipping his head around at the sound of a creaking tree. I'd rather be out in the open where I can see if something is sneaking up on me. We will be soon, Brooke promised, and that noise was only a branch. She let out a soft meow, a mixture of sympathy and amusement. Trees don't sneak up on you. Lionpaw stretched his jaws in a huge yawn before curling up, nose to tail, with his littermates in a nest of long grass. He was warm and comfortable, and his belly was full. His eyes closed, and the crisp mountain voices of the tribe cats began to blur together with the hooting of the owls, like rain falling into a pool. Then his ears pricked as he heard the complaining tones of Breezepaw coming from a dip in the ground just beyond the outlying branches of the trees. I don't see why we have to come at all. What can we do to help these weird cats? And why does it matter anyway? What has the tribe ever done for us? Feathertail gave her life, saving them from a Sharptooth. If they are worthy for our help, then they deserve it now. Otherwise, she died for nothing, Crowfeather murmured. Lionpaw raised his head to see the skinny WindClan cat sitting with his back to the trees, his shape outlined against the darkened sky. Breezepaw was a sprawled heap in the grass. Well, it sounds as if we've helped them enough, Breezepaw objected. Crowfeather sighed. Lionpaw thought he had never heard a cat sound so bone-weary. You'll never understand loyalty, the gray-black Tom meowed. Don't say that to your son! That's your fault. Lionpaw was puzzled. Feathertail had been a RiverClan cat, so why should Crowfeather be especially loyal to her? He wrapped his tail over his nose. There were so many memories clinging to these warriors, so much that he found hard to understand. He pressed up against his littermates, and the forest sounds around him faded as he slipped into sleep. A paw prodding his shoulder woke Lionpaw up. He jumped up at once, claws flexing as he scrambled out of his grassy nest. Brambleclaw was standing over him, his tail flicked across Lionpaw's mouth to warn him to stay quiet. Beside him, Jaypaw and Hollypaw were crouched down with their fur bristling. Hollypaw's tail tip twitched as she gazed out from the shelter of the trees, and Jaypaw's ears were pricked. There's another cat close by, Brambleclaw murmured. Lionpaw tasted the air. At first he couldn't pick up anything beyond the mingled scents of the other clan cats. Talon was on his paws, braced for a fight, and Squirrelflight bounded across to stand by Brambleclaw's side. The forest and the hillside beyond seemed peaceful. Early morning sunlight sliced the trees, turning Lionpaw's pelt to flame. Dew glittered on the grass and on the cobwebs strung across the nearby bramble thicket. Hi, Kaito, thank you for the like. Lionpaw had begun to relax when a breeze sprang up, bringing a new scent with it. That's a kitty pet, he exclaimed. I'm not afraid of kitty pets. Shh, Brambleclaw hissed. We might have strayed into kitty pet's territory, and we don't want to fight unless we have to. We don't have to fight kitty pets, Hollypaw mused scornfully. I bet if we showed it our teeth, it'll go wailing back to its two legs. Maybe it won't. Squirrelflight's voice was low but stern. I've known kitty pets who could fight. One bad wound out here would be a problem for us all. Now do as Brambleclaw says and be quiet. Lionpaw stiffened as he heard a rustling in the undergrowth. The fronds of a nearby clump of bracken weaved and parted. A plump tabby tom stepped through them into the open. His fur was rumpled and covered in burrs, and his muzzle was gray with age. He halted just beyond the bracken and stared at the journeying cats. Brambleclaw was staring back, his amber eyes wide with shock. Beside him, Squirrelflight bounced on her paws and let out a little cry of welcome. Purdy! What's Purdy doing all the way over here? Oh my god! Technically it wasn't Purdy, it was... Oh, sorry, I haven't read what's coming up, but Squirrelflight says that Purdy helped them with the sun-drawn place, but it was Ravenpaw. Also, what the heck is he doing this far out? That's a long ways away from where he was staying. The heck? The food is here, guys. The food is here. Luckily, I'm almost done reading for today. We're just about at page 200, so that'll be good. And then I'll go eat my sandwich, which is a chicken burger, actually. Chapter 16. Hollypot turned to stare at her mother. You know this kitty pet? Squirrelflight's eyes were bright. We met him on our first journey, she explained. He helped us find the way to the sundown place. Tawny Pelt sprang up from where she had been sleeping in the shelter of the bramble thicket. Hey, Purdy, she called, bounding across the grass to touch noses with the old tabby. How's the prey running? Stormfur patted up. Wait, no, it's not. Oh, Purdy. Wait, no. Purdy is the Barley. It's Barley and Ravenpaw. Barley is with Ravenpaw, and they're back in the place. Purdy is the old cat that made them go around in circles over and over again because he didn't want them to leave because he liked them so much. I remember now. How's the prey running? Stormfur patted up after her. Greetings, Purdy. I'm glad that StarClan has joined our paths again. A friend of mine told me that there were strange cats in the woods, and I reckon they might be you, the old Tom meowed. But where's the rest of you? Where's that scrawny young apprentice who was always arguing? Here. Crowfeather stalked up to stand with the others. Are you gonna let him talk to you like that? Breezepaw demanded, gazing at the tabby Tom with an undisguised hostility. I could rip his fur off with one paw. Crowfeather's eyes narrowed. You don't understand, Breezepaw. Purdy was part of our journey. That's important. Breezepaw gave him a disdainful sniff. Crowfeather's a warrior now, Brambleclaw mewed hurriedly. Hollypaw guessed he was trying to distract Purdy from Breezepaw's rudeness. So am I, Squirrelflight added. My name's Squirrelflight. Well, I never. Purdy's amber eyes gleamed. But there were 6 of you, he added, glancing from side to side. Where's the silver cat? Feather something. She died, Crowfeather rasped, before any other cat could speak. I'm sorry to hear it. Purdy's tail drooped, but after a couple heartbeats his eyes grew bright again. I never thought I'd see clan cats again, and now here you all are. We're not all clan cats, Stormfur pointed out. He waved his tail, beckoning Brook and the other tribe cats to come closer. This is Brook, and this is Night and Talon. They all come from the mountains. What? Purdy's neck fur bristled. So there really are cats living in the mountains. He inspected the 3 tribe cats with narrowed eyes. I thought yous were just a tale Queen told kits to stop 'em from staying. No, we're real all right, Talon mewed. So we'll see. Purdy gave his chest fur a couple licks, casting sidelong glances at the mountain cats as if he expected them to leap on him and with claws out and teeth bared. And these are my kits. Squirrelflight swept her tail around Hollypaw, Lionpaw, and Jaypaw, urging them closer to the old tabby, Mine and Brambleclaws. Kits! Purdy's whiskers quivered in surprise. And you hardly mourn kits yourself. Come here, youngins, and let me look at you. This is my son Breezepaw, Crowfeather added, shoving Breezepaw up with the others. The 3 litter mates padded up to Purdy. As Hollypaw dipped her head politely, she caught a whiff of sour breath and had to make an effort not to flinch away. He's way old, Breezepaw muttered into her ear. Older than any of our elders. Why isn't he dead yet? Shut up, you stupid furball, Hollypaw whispered. Kitty pets get looked after by their 2 legs. They don't have to catch their own food. Purdy said nothing, but he flicked up one ragged ear, and Hollypaw knew he had heard Breezepaw's comment. I bet this old mange pelt couldn't catch a mouse if he tried from now to Leaf Bear, Breezepaw scoffed. Purdy looked at him. You're right. I don't catch prey no more. I get my food from upwalkers. But I reckon just this once I might try eating ill-mannered kits. I'm not... Breezepaw began indignantly, only to clamp his jaw shut as his father lashed out a paw at his ear, a hard blow, though with his claws sheathed. Don't listen to Breezepaw. Jaypaw mewed to the old Tom. Every cat knows he's mouse-brained. A purr rumbled in Purdy's chest. Don't worry, young'un. I've met more nuisance young cats than you've had rabbits. He lowered his head to inspect the 3 littermates. Close up, he looked as if he hadn't groomed his pelt in seasons. Hollypaw spotted a tick on the side of his neck and a few fleas hopping among the matted fur and tangled burrs. Yuck, fleas! I don't want any of them hopping onto me, thanks. In a clan, apprentices would groom the elders' fur and get rid of the ticks and fleas. Maybe Purdy wasn't as well looked after as the clan cats after all. So what are you doing here? Purdy asked, when he had given Hollypaw and her littermates a good sniff. Not off to the sun-drowned place again. Not this time, Brambleclaw replied. We're going to the mountains. The tribe cats need our help. Purdy's eyes stretched wide with alarm. There's no place for cats, he protested. You telling me you haven't found a better place than that to live? We found a great place, Squirrelflight assured him. It's beside the lake, Tawnypelt added. There's enough territory for all 4 clans, and not much trouble from 2 Legs. Then why don't you stay there? Purdy asked. We'll be going black, but right now the tribe cats need us, Brambleclaw meowed. Hollypaw missed Purdy's reply as Lionpaw hissed into her ear. Why don't we get going? This kitty pet is holding us all up. I guess he's an old friend, Hollypaw meowed, though privately she agreed with Lionpaw. Cats in the mountains could be dying while the rescue party stood here meowing about old times. To her relief, Brambleclaw dipped his head to the old cat. We'd better get going. It's been great seeing you again, Purdy. No need to say goodbye just yet, Purdy meowed. I reckon I'll come with you. Hollypaw saw her own dismay reflected on the faces of the tribe cats. Night murmured something urgently into Talon's ear. Brambleclaw, Talon began. I don't think that's a good idea, Brambleclaw told Purdy. Hollypaw couldn't understand the regret in her father's amber eyes. It's a tough journey, and they'll be fighting at the end of it. Purdy fluffed out his pelt. You saying I can't fight? Too old and fat, is that it? Before any of the other cats could reply, he broke into a rusty meow of laughter. Maybe you're right, but I can come with you as far as the woods. He waved his tail at the trees on the opposite side of the valley. I know a thing or two that might help you. Mouse tongue, Breezepaw muttered, loud enough for Purdy to hear him. Now we're stuck with the stupid mange pelt. Purdy just flicked his tail and turned his back on the WindClan apprentice, padding beside Brambleclaw to the edge of the trees and down the hillside. Squirrelflight bounded forward to join them on Purdy's other side. Hollypaw didn't like Breezepaw's rudeness, but she found herself agreeing with him. This old cat was bound to slow them down when every moment counted. Brambleclaw and the others have been here before, she murmured to Lionpaw. What can Purdy tell them that they don't already know? Lionpaw shrugged. Like Breezepaw says, we're stuck with him. As they headed into the valley, Hollypaw could hear Purdy rambling on about the 2-leg place that she could see in the distance. Remember those rats? He asked. Will I ever forget? Tawnypelt growled. I thought I'd die with that bite. She swiped her tongue around her jaws and added with satisfaction, the rat that gave it to me didn't have long to regret it. A purr rumbled deep inside Purdy's chest. Well, they're no more. Where they're not there no more. Upwalkers came and put up a nest there and cleared out all the rats. Good. Tawnypelt's tail lashed. And that wide open space where the monsters were sleeping? Hollypaw stopped listening. They weren't going anywhere near 2-leg place, so why did Purdy need to tell them about it? Her paws itched to race down into the valley, but she was forced to match her pace with Purdy's slow amble. Why is Brambleclaw doing this? She muttered. The tribe of Rushing Water could be wiped out while we're hanging around here. The tribe cats feel the same, J-Paw mewed, talons boiling under his fur. Hollypaw didn't need her brother's perceptiveness to tell her that. Brooke just looked unhappy, but Knight and Talon were whispering fiercely together, their neck fur bristling. If Brambleclaw didn't pick up the pace soon, there would be a quarrel. The sun rose above the trees, and Hollypaw was grateful for the cool grass brushing against her flanks. Bees buzzed among the clover, while birds swooped and cried in the clear blue sky. A little ways ahead, a cluster of grayish-white animals cropped the grass. Look, sheep! Breezepaw pointed to them with a flick of his tail. That means there must be a 2-leg farm near here. We know, Hollypaw retorted. She wasn't going to be friendly with Breezepaw, even if she did agree with him about Purdy. We've seen sheep before, thanks. In WindClan, Breezepaw began in a superior tone. There's something else, Linepaw interrupted. Another animal scent, but I've never smelt it before. Hollypaw halted to taste the air. Linepaw was right. Apart from the cats around her, the sheep, and a distant trace of dog, she picked up something different. She couldn't see anything, but her paws prickled with apprehension. Bramaclaw led the way around the flank of a hill, and the valley opened up below them. At the bottom of the slope was a cluster of two-leg nests, surrounded by a fence. The strange scent grew stronger. Hollypaw felt her pelt begin to bristle as she spotted where it was coming from. Between the nests and the journeying cats was a group of big black and white animals. They had feet like pointed stones and long tails that swished through the air with a reedy hiss. What are those? Lionpaw asked, and for once Breezepaw had no reply. They're huge, Hollypaw meowed, trying not to sound as nervous as she felt. And they're looking at us. Do you think they're going to attack? She was poised to flee when she heard Purdy's rusty laughter. Don't you worry none, he rasped. They're only cows. It's okay, Squirrelflight glanced over her shoulder. We've seen cows before. They won't do you any harm so long as you stay away from their huge feet. Even so, Hollypaw was relieved that Brambleclaw circled around and to stay well away from the cows as they padded downhill, and happier still when the unfamiliar creatures were left behind. I can smell mice, Lionpaw announced as they drew near the two-legs nest. He raced up to catch up to Brambleclaw and asked, Can we stop and hunt? I'm starving. Hollypaw's jaws flooded as she picked up the tempting scent. It seemed to be coming from the two biggest nests, set a little way away from the others. She scampered forward to join her littermate. Please, Brambleclaw, I'm hungry too. Brambleclaw hesitated, and it was Purdy who replied, You don't want nothing to do with that place, young'uns. It's dangerous. Can't you smell dogs as well as the mice? Brambleclaw nodded. I can. Thanks, Purdy. We'll carry on until we find somewhere a bit safer. Lionpaw let out a hiss of annoyance. I'm not scared of dogs, he muttered. Neither am I, Breezepaw agreed. We see them all the time in WindClan territory. They're not dangerous if you know how to deal with them. The two-legs probably keep the stupid thing shut up anyways, added Lionpaw. Purdy's just making a fuss about nothing. Yeah, meowed Breezepaw. He's only a kitty pet. He's bound to be scared. Toms, Hollypaw thought, shaking her head as she listened to her brother and the WindClan apprentice on the same side for once. They went on muttering together as Brambleclaw led them into the shadow of a hedge. Hollypaw kept her ears pricked for the sound of prey. She thought she spotted movement in the thickest part of the hedge, but when she turned to look more closely, a hawthorn branch snagged her fur and the small creature, whatever it was, vanished. Spitting crossly, she stopped to give her shoulder a quick groom, and spotted Lionpaw and Breezepaw, their bellies flat to the ground, creeping away in the direction of the farm. Hey! She called. Where do you think you're going? Lionpaw signaled to her with his tail. Quiet, for Starkland's sake. Hollypaw cast a glance at the others. They had drawn ahead by a few fox-legs. No cat had heard anything. Jaypaw was walking between Stormfur and Brook and hadn't noticed the others leave. Hollypaw darted over to her brother and Breezepaw. What are you doing? Keep your fur on, Lionpaw hissed. We're just going back to the farm. Evercat's going so slowly that we can catch a few mice and be back before they miss us. Come on, Breezepaw urged, nudging Lionpaw's shoulder. I can taste those mice now. Are you mouse-brained? Hollypaw demanded. What if you get left behind? We ought to stay together. We won't get left behind, Lionpaw mewed. That cat's only a kitty pet and an elder, Breezepaw put in. He's probably never caught a mouse in his life. Why shouldn't he tell us what to do? Why should he tell us what to do? Brambleclaw told us what to do, Hollypaw pointed out. He'll have your tails for a fresh kill if he catches you. We'll make sure he doesn't catch us. Lionpaw's amber eyes glowed with a strange light. A shiver ran through Hollypaw from ears to tail tip. She didn't want to let her brother go off in this mood, especially with Breezepaw, who had already shown he couldn't be trusted in a crisis. But she knew that she couldn't stop him unless she told the senior warriors what he was planning. Okay, She meowed, I'm coming with you. Breezepaw glared at her. No cat invited you. Let her come. Linepaw rested the tip of his tail on Hollypaw's shoulder. 3 will be better than 2 when we're searching for prey. And Hollypaw's one of the best hunters in the clan. She's nearly as good as Sandstorm. Okay then, Breezepaw meowed ungraciously. Hollypaw cast another glance up the line of the hedge. The other cats had disappeared, though their scents told her they weren't far away. Come on, Linepaw whispered. He spun around and raced across the stretch of open ground towards the 2-leg fence. Hollypaw and Breezepaw followed, the grass brushing their belly furs and their tails streaming out. Hollypaw pricked her ears for yowls of anger behind them, but all was quiet. The fence was made of the same shiny stuff as the fence around the horse place. Linepaw flattened himself to the ground and wriggled underneath the lowest strand, springing to his paws as soon as he reached the other side. Hurry up, he urged. Hollypaw wriggled underneath, feeling the shiny fence stuff scrape against her back, and remembering her mother's story of getting stuck on a fence like this during her first journey. Her paws tingled with the fear that she would get stuck too. Then she was safely through, and Breezepaw was scrambling under the fence after her. Linepaw was already racing down a narrow gap between the 2-leg nests. Water flooded Hollypaw's mouth again at the overwhelming scent of mice. Following her brother, she halted briefly at the edge of another open space, this one covered with stone. Opposite where the 3 apprentices were standing was one of those big 2-leg nests. Across the entrance was a wooden barrier that stood slightly ajar. Inside, the nest was dark. Linepaw glanced around. Although Hollypaw could scent both dogs and 2-legs, there was no sign of either. Get on with it, Breezepaw muttered. Linepaw signaled with his tail, and the 3 young cats bounded across the open space and slipped through the gap into the nest. Once inside, Hollypaw stood still, panting from exertion and fear, until her eyes got used to the dim light. The walls of the nest were made of rough stone. Light angled in from the entrance and from a few narrow gaps high in the walls. Thus moths danced golden in the greenish rays, but the rest of the nest lay in shadow. The scent of mouse was stronger still, but Hollypaw was too edgy to hunt. She turned and looked back the way they had come. Behind her, she heard the scamper of paws and a thin shriek of a cat, and a thin shriek that cut off abruptly. First kill! Breezepaw declared with glee. Hollypaw glanced back to see him crouched over the body of a plump mouse. Linepaw had dropped into a hunter's crouch, his haunches waggling from side to side and his eyes fixed on something in the shadows. Hollypaw bit back a gasp as she made out the shape of an enormous rat. It was nearly as big as Linepaw. Linepaw pounced. There was a brief flurry of movement and a squeal from the rat that broke off a heartbeat later as Linepaw bit down hard on its neck. He stood over his prey, his eyes glowing with pride. Brilliant catch! Hollypaw exclaimed. Not bad. Breezepaw mumbled around a mouthful of mouse. Linepaw started dragging his prey by the tail into the center of the nest. Come and share, he invited Hollypaw. I can't possibly eat all this by myself. Thanks, Hollypaw broke off at the sound of movement from outside and a sudden sharp scent. For a couple heartbeats she stared, frozen, at the gap leading out into the open. She couldn't see anything, but she heard snuffling at the bottom of the wooden barrier, the thud of heavy paws, and a low-pitched growling. Breezepaw's eyes stretched wide. Dogs!
Da-da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Okay, I think that's where we're ended off today. We got to page 202, which was 100 pages, which is our goal for these readings. Surprisingly, I'm actually impressed. I've gotten into it seems like I can read 100 pages in about 3 hours, which is my normal stream time anyways. So it all fits together. It all makes sense. All right, we're gonna end then. Thank you guys for listening. We should be able to finish next week. And then we'll be on the 4th book. Insane. It's tomorrow, me and Dan are finishing A Way Out. Or hopefully we're gonna finish A Way Out. And then on Friday we have
The subathon. The no-no-thon. I already got that game that I was talking about. Stream chat games. I'm very excited. I'm excited to see how it's gonna turn out. Okay. I don't think I'll rate anyone today, but yeah. Guys, please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on this wonderful Warrior Cat adventure with me that I'm still extremely proud that we've made it this far. It's at least been a year. I wish I knew what day I actually started Warrior Cat Wednesday on, because that would be cool to know, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to the ending screen. I love you guys. I'll see you. Good night. Sleep tight. Bye. Goodbye. I love you. And you're so cool. Yeah. Woo. Da-da-boo. Oh. See you tomorrow. Bye. 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 Bye.